It's the Blues on the streets, parade's complete, and Gloria is the new queen. You can't forsake your team in last place as they sang the Bruins to sleep. My memory is scummy, what's this podcast that I'm in? Man, last season's out again, and Rink Moose is back in. Hey Pierre, what's wrong? What's going on? No team's gonna cut you a deal. Mitch said, hey Austin, you're awesome. Drop your pants and shock them. Now score like your game's freaking near.
Unfriggin' believable.
Sens got no stars or snipers, but it's best draft in years. At least fans can't sleep easy because here comes Lafreniere. Hello there, and welcome back to the Rink Moose Podcast, an episodic podcast where two good friends get together and discuss all things NHL and their implications in the fantasy hockey universe. It is my pleasure to open up the new season of the podcast, Season 3, Season COVID, whatever you want to call it.
Get this guy off the air.
I'm rusty, as you can tell. I don't know what to do with myself. We've been off for 3 months' time. And with that, I introduce Kyle Nice to the show. Kyle, how are you doing in this beautiful, beautiful estate we find ourselves in today?
Boy, Nick, I don't even know what to say to you. The last time we did this show, and we apologize greatly for this, but it's been since March 3rd. And it was a new world. It was a different time. We're in a pandemic all of a sudden. We're in a new house. It's a beautiful new studio. And you know what? We've got a little bit new NHL league, too, to discuss and break down. Now, we come to you first and foremost. We come back to you, I should say, mostly because the draft lottery, the highly esteemed event, is in about 13 days' time to this day. And we've gotten all hyped about this, and we've got some new NHL news to talk about. We would have come back to you sooner, but guys, there wasn't really much to go down on. So here we are, and we're going to give you a little bit of draft talk today.
It's timely. I mean, Kyle and I we have been talking in the recent few months, and we kept talking about when's the right time to come back. When do we bring the show back, the gang back?
Right.
And we just wanted to come back when there was tangible news we could talk about. And for too long, I feel like the NHL kind of just sagged and left us in the dust. Mm-hmm. And now, in the past month or so, things have been starting to pick up. We have a format that Bettman has introduced, which was kind of surprising just to see him talk about something like that. We have a lottery in 2 weeks' time with the draft to come. I assume later. I can only speculate, but potentially October. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, with the lottery imminent, it's getting people talking, and that's partly the reason we wanted to come back with you guys today to talk about our thoughts of the draft. And of course, this is something Kyle's been itching to talk about for the past 10 months, 12 months, right? This has been, I mean, this time last year, it was around the Hlinka Gretzky, right? We were talking about Byfield and Drysdale in that tournament, and then they had that U.S.-Canada showcase in Michigan. I mean, it's been a year, but a quick year. Yeah, and it's fun to finally get to. We've put down these rankings, and this is the first time I've done a rankings, so we can actually have discussion as opposed to me just picking your brain apart. Right. So we're excited. We hope you guys are excited, and hope to God we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of what we're listening to, and obviously other podcasts do go on. They did go on in this time. We kind of agreed with each other that we didn't want to put out content for the sake of putting out content. We wanted to wait, like Nick said, until we had something to say, we had something to contribute. I think this is the perfect time. I mean, draft hype is up and running, and Nick's gotten into it this year, which is great because, you know, it's so fun to talk about this. It's so subjective that the debates are just inevitable, and we're just gonna have a friendly kind of list versus list kind of thing, and defend our position. So I'm fired up.
Yeah, and of course that's going to be the main body of our show here today. But of course, I would like us to, you know, catch up a little on what's transpired the last 3 months. So with that said, Kyle, I want you to rewind your clock to March 13th, 2020.
God damn.
And I want to know what your reaction was when you found out that the season was going to be postponed, as they called it.
Boy, yeah, it's hard. It feels like a long time ago. I remember the day because I was busy all day in class or doing whatever, but I remember everyone was blowing up online because something happened in the NBA first, and then it eventually trickled down to the NHL. At the time, like, I'll be honest, that was, and it's crazy to think this sporting moment like trickled into the rest of my life, but that was the moment the pandemic really started for me. As crazy as it sounds, I knew there was a pandemic. I knew it was serious. I knew we had to change our ways. But when sports stopped, that changed the game. It was like, oh my God, this is legit. We have to really switch things up. So, it feels like a lifetime ago. I think I was just kind of coming home listening to TSN on the radio, and they were breaking it down. I was like, what the hell happened? I got to dive into this right now. But was I surprised? Honestly, I was still surprised. Even though there was a pandemic, it's such an unprecedented thing to stop the NHL. I mean, they still played games during the damn war, for Christ's sake. So it was really weird, and, you know, it took a while to get used to, but, you know, here we are. And thank God there's a glimmer of hope. Yeah.
No, because I'll tell you, there was no hope then. It just came. It was just quick, out of nowhere. I mean, the sick part of me, the selfish part of me, was like, screw it, we got to get these games in. Like, let's play hockey.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's more important things than a couple guys passing the puck on a frozen pond, and that obviously took precedence. And of course, the world is in a better place right now, so much better. Kyle and I are actually in a position to be doing this. We're in the same studio, as you guys can probably tell, as opposed to doing this remotely.
Thank God.
You know, we finished our semesters of school. I finished in Kingston. He finished in Toronto. But it was tough. I mean, usually the playoffs is your escape during exams. It's something you can look forward to at night as you're studying. And I didn't have that this year. Mm-hmm. So you had to look for other forms of entertainment and to get through. And I did, and I'm sure others can relate. So with that said, my next question is, Kyle, what have you done in the last 3 months hockey-wise to stay in the loop? I'm talking everything multimedia, games, movies, the actual league. What have you done hockey-wise in the last 3 months?
Well, you know what, Nick? Actually, after things stopped, I'm not going to lie to you. I went a bit cold turkey. Like, I just kind of turned, because what was there to go over? I know some guys go over like historical tapes and watch old games back. I think I did that once for a World Junior game, but I didn't really kind of go searching through the hockey world because I knew there was no new content. I knew things were at a pause, and I kind of took maybe like a month off, you could say. And then once the word started chattering, there's always draft stuff, you know, like, you know, you're just kind of scrolling through Twitter, dicking around on YouTube and shit, and you're looking at draft stuff. There's always that, but even that was slow. As soon as news started trickling in and, you know, things started, you pique your interest a little bit. And then Bettman announces there might be, you know, Detroit might be getting these crazy odds and all these speculative things and all these ideas, and you hear people discussing it. That sparked things again, and honestly, it's been mostly draft stuff I've been looking at up until about a week ago when we got the news, maybe 2 weeks ago, of the playoff format of the 24 teams, and Montreal's going to be in, and then I've started to look at some of the matchups, and I think that's something we'll be covering on the next episode. But Yeah, all of a sudden things just snap back on and the heat is turned right back up. And man, I can't imagine. I cannot wait for this stuff to get going. Warm weather, we've got all the guys in town. You know, it's going to be such a treat to have this back. All of a sudden it's like I've been missing this for a lifetime.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Just the reason I asked that question is I think some people are better at just clearing their head and going to other interests in this bleak time. For me, I needed to stay in the hockey fix somehow. I couldn't just take the month off.
Right.
So when I allude to multimedia and things like that, as Kyle knows, I quit the NHL franchise on PS4 a long time ago, dating back to our first year of university when I was the Schnurr Cup runner-up.
Yes. Oh my God, he's so fucking good.
And I was big into it. And this, you know, I think video games were a very important part of lots of people's lives during this pandemic. I still think they continue to be. They thrived in this period. And I took it upon myself. I picked up, you know, NHL 20. I did a franchise. I played as the Colorado Avalanche with the Nordique jerseys.
Good team.
I tanked in the first year. Got Lafreniere.
Good idea.
We won the cup that year.
Nice.
I stripped McKinnon of the captaincy right away. Gave it to Laff, and Laff raised the cup.
No way.
And then the following year,
as a rookie.
He was rookie of the year. He put up like a point per game in the playoffs. He was great.
Wow.
Became franchise status like 2 years after he was picked. And then I tanked the following year and got Shane Wright. And then I had
are such a prick.
And then I had my centers were Shane Wright and Lafreniere, and it was awesome. And I stripped Laff of the captaincy and gave it to Shane Wright.
You are such a Where's the loyalty?
Yeah, there's no loyalty with
what?
Team Nick.
God.
But no, Shane Wright was he's not very good in the game. I struggled when he joined the team.
Really?
I guess it's because the devs didn't have enough time to like.
Yeah.
His photos in the game, and like he was a 51 overall, and then he slowly gets to an 80 when you get. But I don't know. He was schmeh, but it was fun. It was a fun little thing to go back to. It's long gone now. I don't plan on going back until, you know, maybe when the next consoles come out.
This guy, Nick, I'm telling you, every time I see him on this PlayStation, he's got NHL, he's got NBA, he's got MLB. He's fucking building all the franchises of every single sports league.
My next project, as you saw yesterday, I think, is I sent Kyle a screenshot. It's a Michael Jordan.
Oh my God.
Draped in a Raptors jersey.
I was shaking my head.
I have Jordan basically replacing Kawhi Leonard as the star of the Raptors, and he's leading us on another championship. So that's my next goal thing I'm working on.
So essentially, Nick's been living in fantasy land, and this is going to be a hard crash to rock bottom.
Well, maybe, but there's also, you know, some other things. I got back into, and this is very important, old hockey history. I started, around 3 years ago, the NHL took it upon themselves to make a top 100. They released videos of every player. They made a top 10 teams in NHL history. They did a top 100 moments in NHL history. And me as a history major, I'm infatuated by just history in general. But to go dig deep into the history of the NHL and old players that these old hockey guys talk on the radio, I would never, when they mention old names, I would not know who they were alluding to. You know the big ones, Jean Beliveau and Bobby Orr and those guys, but you know there's these other low key guys I'd never heard of, and I watch tape of them and I'm like, shit, these guys are good. You know, like Marcel Dion in the 70s, Guy Lafleur, like these guys are legit. And like watching, like I never got to see Teemu Selanne play, but I watched clips of him and the guy's speeding around like McDavid. It's wonderful. So that was a pleasure to watch. I commend anybody who has any interest in hockey history to watch all 100 of those videos. They're about 4 minutes long. The production value is insane. The footage they get, the interviews they get. Start by just watching a couple, the players you really want to learn about, and then find out if you want to get into it. But it was a rabbit hole I went down. Like every lunch break, I'd watch like another 7 episodes, and it was just it was wonderful. And I'm just so happy when I hear people talk hockey history. I can now throw my hat into the ring and chat amongst them. So That was great. And then another thing, one last little thing is movies, hockey movies. I kind of went down a rabbit hole of looking at old hockey movies. I mean, everybody knows the classics. You got Miracle, Slapshot. You've seen Slapshot, right?
Yes.
Surely you have. Old one, but a classic.
Very long time ago, though. Like, not recent.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it's great to watch recent because your sense of humor obviously changes as you grow up, so it changes your perspective. But I mean, those are the mainstream ones. But I was just taken aback by all the low key hockey movies that came out recently. There's this one I recommend for you. It's called Mystery Alaska.
Holy shit!
It's about this group of players in Alaska. Wow. They're too far removed from civilization or society to have a league of their own or to make the show. So they basically form a group of like 15 of them, form a team, and every Saturday afternoon they get together and they play something called the Saturday Game. Okay. And the whole town gathers together in this outdoor pond to watch the Saturday Game. And they have this log cabin that they get changed in. What? And then when they leave the log cabin, they have this like twisting like loop of ice they have to get through to get to the rink. Like, it's legit. It's so legit. It stars Russell Crowe. Wow. He's like the captain of this
is so
team
sick.
Of misfits.
Wow.
And basically the way they start building traction, this reporter from New York comes down, and essentially what happens is at the end of the movie they invite the New York Rangers to play them in one game. Oh my God. This group of misfits in Alaska, and it was filmed on set, like up north in
really?
Like, I don't know where they went.
Yeah.
But it's like those Molson commercials. That's where they played, and they filmed this all there. It's greatly filmed. The pace is good. The shots are great. Huh. And the Rangers come at the end of the movie. They go into they play a big game. I'm not going to spoil it because I encourage everybody to watch this movie. Very underrated. Highly recommend. So that's Mystery Alaska.
Mystery Alaska.
Either 2000 or 99.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All this time, I've absolutely never heard of that.
It's great. Yeah, they're so low key. There was this other one more I'll mention. Young Blood. This is a Pierre Maguire reco. He mentioned it once.
Oh boy, cross that off the list.
1986. It was Keanu Reeves' first movie.
Really?
He's the goalie of this team.
Oh my God.
Basically, what happens is you have this player. He's playing in the States, and he wants to make the show. Yeah. There's nowhere to play where he is in the States, so he moves to Hamilton, Ontario.
No.
Yeah, he moves to Hamilton, Ontario.
So weird.
He meets up with all these Canadians. They're very stereotypical. They make fun of us. They poke fun at they're all drinking Molson. And they're getting drunk at the bars.
This is great.
The captain of that team is Patrick Swayze. This
way.
was when he was in his prime. So Swayze and Keanu Reeves are on the team. And this American basically joins them, and he kind of wants to make a name for himself, and it's a cool movie because he's very much like a Kyle guy. Like he's skilled, he's good on his feet,
right?
But he's not very physical, doesn't get rough, and it's called Young Blood because eventually Swayze and the Canadians kind of just groom him into becoming more tough, and to survive in the league.
That's really neat.
And I mean it's kind of like stereotypical plot, but it's a good arc, and it's more goofy. It's more of a funny movie, whereas Mystery Alaska is more like a serious tone.
Yeah.
And so like for example, this player he gets into like he starts a relationship with the girl at the rink. Turns out the girl's dad is the coach. Oh. Then he's getting benched because they got in a fight. He finds out, there's some comedic elements. It's a very funny movie. The bar scenes, the tricks they pull in the bar are fun.
Yeah,
like it's. So those are my two: Young Blood '86, Mystery Alaska '99. One's more normal, one's more comedic. I know during this time everyone's watching movies. I recently got Kyle to watch Inception, which was a long time in the making.
Yeah.
So those are my recos for all you hockey fans out there who maybe, you've seen the main ones, the Miracles, the slap shots. Well, here's a couple others your way. So there you have it.
I'm jealous.
He's just scribbled this into his notebook, and he's going to get on it.
I'm jealous because, like, I guess there was I saw it as like, oh, there's no options, right? But you dug in a little deeper, and I feel like shit. Because you told me to watch those top 100 videos, and I absolutely did not watch them.
It's a commitment.
It's a commitment, and things have been a little haywire over here, so it's on my to-do list. All these things are on my to-do list.
Hey,
that's really
there's
neat.
no better time for that than this summer of COVID.
Yeah.
And hey, I mean, The Athletic made my job easy. They did like a top 100 sports movies. And I just went through and plucked out the hockey ones. So that's kind of where I got started.
Yeah.
So, it's for anyone subscribed to The Athletic, check it out. They got awesome baseball and football and basketball movies. So, sports movies I just really got into during this period, and it was a blast. So,
wow.
Go ahead and watch them, and please let us know on Twitter what you guys think. Because I know Kyle's still active on that front.
Oh, we're very active on Twitter. We're trying to get more active, and we'd love to talk to you guys. Whoever's listening out there, whoever you are, we want to meet you. And
as we sit in this basement alone and deserted.
Well, I don't know if we want to meet you right now, but. We definitely want to have some discussion. It would be great to have some open discussion on Twitter or wherever you can reach us.
Anything.
Kind of thing.
The real NHL, the movies, anything. So
let us
know.
Not?
But moving on. One final point before we get into the meat of the episode here. And Kyle's nodding in approval of this.
Wow.
Most recent. This grapefruit beer.
This is the strong beer.
Oh, the strong beer.
This is it's a Whistler pack, so it's a Whistler multi-pack. It's a strong beer at 6%. Usually they have a taste I don't like, but this one is very much
hoppy.
Like a regular beer.
You like.
Yeah.
Usually the IPAs are hoppy. This one not so much.
If you had 6 of these, you'd be on your ass. Because it's a 6%.
But it's drinkable.
But it's very drinkable.
You could pack 6 of those down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good one. Which brewery is this, Kyle, so the fans know?
Whistler Brewing Company.
There you go.
Highly recommended.
Shout out to the Whistler Brewing Company.
And we'll take that sponsorship
Future
money.
sponsor of the show. But moving on. Final little thing is, of course, like we mentioned in the recent few weeks, months, Bettman came on the horn. He announced this format. Up until then, it was just this sad period of speculation. What are they going to do? Are they going to have a regular season? Are they going to have a playoffs? Who are the hubs? Are we going to have 4 hubs? Are we going to have 2 hubs? Silly discussions like that. I fucking hate just speculation with I just don't like it.
Just radio chatter.
Overdrive guys are just shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Burning time, picking their paychecks.
There's nothing to say.
Yeah. So that's why we didn't want to come with you guys. But regardless, back to the main point. We now have a format. We now appear to have 2 hub teams.
Yeah.
Recently, this is very recent, in the last 24 hours, Vegas, we know, is a lock now, and it sounds like the NHL's trying to work with Canada.
It's a lock, eh?
To make Toronto the second hub. Because it's clearly a lock just because they're giving the government so much time to fix their quarantine rules.
Yeah.
And of course, if they do fix the quarantine rules, and we do have a hub in Canada, which they want because it's cheaper to finance things here with the dollar.
Yeah.
They obviously have Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto. What they're saying is Toronto is the lock because you can't have 2 West hubs.
Fair.
If you do that, you're fucking with the time zones.
Yeah.
And
you're kind of alienating the Eastern guys.
We don't like watching games at 10 at night.
Yeah.
Even during this COVID when we don't have to get up for work or school, it's no fun trying to, stay up at night splashing water in your face just to catch the third period. It's no fun.
Exactly.
I've been down that rabbit hole. I don't want to go down that again.
Yeah.
So have one in the East, have one in the West, and that's why it sounds like Toronto, Vegas are going to be your hubs.
I know there's some friction with Trudeau and the whole Canadian thing about, whoever comes in here, they're going to have to self-isolate for 2 weeks. I'm hearing he might renege on that. He might come back on that. And then hopefully, because I really want one of these hub cities to be in Canada. It's good for the economy. It's good for everything. And there's going to be hype. Not that you can go to the games, but I just think it would be cool. Knowing that it's all in Toronto and there's every team right in the East is going to be there. That would be really cool to see. And I'm sad Edmonton didn't get it for some reason.
Because they tried so hard.
They tried so hard. They put a package together. Yeah, we're going to have so many things for the guys
Ryan
to do.
Rashog's reporting. He's talking to the Premier. They tried hard.
And then Vegas Waltz is in here. We're Vegas. We want it. And they get it. It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
And now all the Edmonton fans are going to team up on the Toronto fans and say, we should be getting the hub. We have a better city. They're going to be sour.
And now there's this political element because Trudeau wants the voters of Toronto to vote for him. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
He needs to keep those votes in Ontario. He's already lost out west. He's cut his losses.
He knows.
Yeah,
he
knows.
Screw him.
He knows.
We're done over there.
Just keep the central. So,
my God.
Yeah, it's funny. It's really jokes, but I guess in short, what do you make of this this format? This play in. We're letting Montreal in. We're letting these misfit teams who have no business being in there to try and make a run. We're giving the front end teams buys. I have something to say about that.
Okay.
In general, what do you make of this?
I say praise to the Lord, Bettman, because first of all, I'm thankful to be getting anything. I'm at that point right now in life. If you give me any semblance of playoffs, I will be so thankful. Second of all, I mean, the 24 team aspect, what are you bitching about? Seriously, what are you bitching about? There's tons of people out there going, Montreal shouldn't be in the playoffs. This is bullshit. Well, fuck, guys. I mean, come on. Look at the circumstances here. Just get over it. How about that? It's just crazy that you could be upset about something like this. It's good for the league. You're going to make the league money with Montreal fans watching the playoffs. Chicago's in there. That's one of the biggest franchises in the damn thing. That's fantastic. To be honest, every single piece of ruling and decision-making they've come out with, I haven't had a problem with. I like what they've done up top with the seeding. I know Boston is getting a bit of a shaft, but you know what? There was a good chunk of this season left, and who knows? Like, you can't just give Boston the ultimate, you won the league kind of thing. So I've been happy with every single step, and I'm really excited to get this thing going.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that they're keeping, because the whole debate was how do you salvage the season but also keep the integrity of the cup, right? That's the theme.
Sure.
And I think by keeping it at best of 7 for every single round, I think they're going to do that. They keep the integrity, and then the play-in, you're giving those teams that did have a fighting chance, like my dark horse, Minnesota, at the start of the season. I was rallying for them. They got so hot at the end. I was going to laugh all over Kyle saying I was right and he was wrong, and then the season got cut short. So yeah. I'm so glad they're going to have a chance to prove themselves. And yeah, I mean, without getting into it, because of course we're going to devote a whole episode to analyzing the matchups, but
big time. Just
to have things like Edmonton, Chicago, like that's
great.
That's such a good low key matchup that would have never happened. Chicago was well out, but the fact you're going to have Kane against McDavid for a best of 5 is wonderful. It's wonderful.
McDavid versus like I said, Chicago is one of the most respected and largest dollar grossing.
Yeah.
McDavid versus Chicago, it's insane for the NHL. Shut up, just take it.
And then of course, locally we're gonna have the Leafs, new school Leafs based on analytics against old school Tortorella.
Love it.
It's a great storyline. Arguably coach of the year, has willed his team to contention.
Yeah.
He gets a chance to get his team into the playoffs. I know a lot of Columbus fans were clamoring to have them still have a chance. So between that matchup, obviously you mentioned from the top, Pittsburgh, Montreal, can Carey Price steal a series.
Yep.
It's going to be wonderful. Everybody's healthy, so that's great, right? Like the Jake Gensels are back, so there's no excuses. Everyone's starting from the same playing field. If you're shit, it's because you didn't work hard over this off season.
Yeah,
because you didn't treat this as like you just didn't take it seriously.
Yeah,
and I think it's gonna be great to see who comes up to show up and who doesn't. So, yeah.
There's going to be so many different variables and factors that we're not used to in this playoffs. Like, if you're confined, you have to stay in the hotel. You can't go out and do stuff. If some players are going to want to break that rule. What have you been doing during this off season? Have you been training, or have you just said, long vacation, let's just take it? So many different variables. I do not respect at all those who put an asterisk beside this cup. I don't think it's warranted. I think this is a tournament that is, sure, it's unprecedented, but you are going absolutely through the ringer to get to the cup. You're adding more games than you usually would even. And I think it's fair ball. It's jump ball here. In the beginning, it's going to be who is ready. Is this going to be a continuation of the season we just saw, or is this just a fresh start? I can't wait to see that. But I mean, it's all fair and it's all ready to go. Everyone's healthy. Coaches are ready. Let's play some hockey here.
And one final note, because we don't want to dwell on this too much, but I have to mention, I love how they disclosed the teams that voted no on the format. The two teams, of course, one of ours, the arch nemesis Tampa Bay Lightning, and the other, the Carolina Hurricanes. So here's the thing: I get the Carolina point because they were 0-4 against the Rangers through the regular season. So fair enough. Okay, you can't change anything about it, but your own selfish mind, you're 0-4 against this team, and you're sour. You got to play them. Okay, fine. I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
But the one that irks me the wrong way is Tampa Bay. And when their spokesman, Killorn, came out and started talking, he basically said he doesn't like... And shut the fuck up, because you're getting a bye. He basically said, we don't like how we get a bye, and our games are only for seeding. They're not like, you don't advance or get rejected in them. They're just for seeding. When I heard that, I knew who was doing the talking. I know that's John Cooper out there in Tampa.
100%.
And you got to pull up your socks. This is your job, man, to motivate this team to come back and play 100%. You are the coach. You are the motivator. Stop whining because you can't do your job. He's whining because his team's not going to be as motivated playing these meaningless games. Well, get them motivated. Yeah. Do your job. You don't know anything about hockey tactics whatsoever. You claim you're all about motivation. That's all you do. So do it, fake lawyer.
Thank you for saying that, Nick. Thank you for bringing that up. I mean, absolutely hit the nail on the head. John Cooper's bitching and is only two of 31 teams or 20, whatever, to bitch. Like, this guy's getting a bye and you're actually complaining. Like, you should be taking the bull by the horns. I can already tell they're going to come out of the gate with excuses and all this kind of shit. So, Tampa Bay, I'm going to put a dash beside that one and say they might get upset pretty soon.
And it's nice how they made the amendment to their format where they're going to reseed those top four teams. Like, basically going to wait for the first round to go by, and then they're going to seed those teams based on who does well in that top four
in their games.
So it's going to be fair. They're going to have a tough opponent, and hope to God they get knocked out in the first round. And the tie break is the regular season standing. Mm-hmm. So if two teams happen to have the same record, the tie break will automatically, and it's very likely they will tie. Then it'll just be like Boston's number one, obviously, and so forth. So it seems fair to me. It seems like they've done a lot to try to please everybody, and they went with a lot of work to do this, and I think they did a good job. Just one request, Gary Bettman, please listen to me. The coaches, do not let them wear masks. I want to see all the facial expressions, all the raw reactions when Tampa Bay pisses away a 3-0 lead again in the first round and gets swept.
How about fucking Boudreaux?
I need to see No, he's not coaching. He's fired.
Oh, yeah. No.
He's on his couch. He's enjoying this just as much as we're going to be enjoying this.
Oh, my God. That sucks.
The point is, please do not. I don't like those masks. You can't see anybody. All you can see is their eyes. I need to see the reactions.
Plus, like, what's that going to do? They're hanging out with each other all day. They're in the dressing room. Exactly. Get real. Like, it's just the coach is quarantined with the team. The team is the team. I don't want to see any of this mask bullshit. Are you going to put cardboard cutouts in the stands? I don't give a shit.
That's stupid too.
Are you gonna pump in crowd noise?
I don't know about that.
Probably. Like, I don't want to hear the guy. Like, I do, but
I want to hear the chirps.
People don't want to hear the fans. I mean, the players swearing at their every goal and hit and all that. I would love to hear that, an unfiltered version. I always thought they should give us a raw dog version of the NHL. This is the opportunity, but it's not going to happen. So you're going to hear some random crowd noise.
Yeah, and hopefully the commentary team's back, the good ones. I know recently breaking news was Sportsnet made a good acquisition. They got Chris Cuthbert from TSN.
Yeah.
So they're getting back into the running because Sportsnet for the longest time, they've had the rights, but they got the shittiest broadcasts, worst guys. Right. You're getting a good guy in CC.
Yeah.
And he's not Gord Miller, but he's solid, and I think he's gonna be good for that Sportsnet.
Oh, he's great. Yeah. Yeah, if he's not Gord Miller, he's a close runner-up.
Yeah.
Good for them. And it's good for us because obviously Sportsnet's got the rights. We can get more of Chris in there.
For sure. One last thing. This is not playoffs related before we get into the prospects here, because we know everyone's patiently waiting. Jack Eichel. You heard these comments he made?
Yes, I did.
What did you make of your favorite player, Bud Light Jack?
Oh, Bud Light, man. It's such a sore spot for me because I'm a traditionalist in the sense of leadership, in the fact that I don't like seeing players call out their management, their team, even if their team is screwing up. I like to keep that in the room. That being said, he was questioned on it, and he spoke honestly, he spoke truthfully, and it was sincere in the fact that everything he said was fair. Like, it was all fair game. The GM came out and said it was all fair game. Correct. We have screwed up, and things need to change. So the fact that Jack Eichel is putting Buffalo on a course of, responsibility, like, we need to take responsibility of this, I think it's cool. I think it's a good leadership move. I've swayed from my usual traditional ways, and I think this is Jack Eichel growing up a little bit. I think it's cool.
So you don't think this is a repeat of the Ryan O'Reilly, and now he's going to get run out of town?
No, I don't see it, because Ryan O'Reilly was never anointed the savior of Buffalo. I think Jack Eichel's got that responsibility on his shoulders.
That's Eichel?
Correct.
Okay.
No, it's
not the lean. It's
100%. No. That is still solely on Eichel's shoulders. And Darlene gave some really cool comments about Eichel's character and work ethic and all that, and said this is the real deal. He's a real captain. So I think this is great. He took it on. He spoke the truth. And in that, if Buffalo management and ownership didn't have a fire under their ass before, or even if they did, they've got a triple fire now. And things will start to happen. Yeah. And they need to happen.
They cannot screw up this draft.
No.
And we're going to get into it right here. I mean, it's huge for them. They seem, as you're going to find out here, there seems to be like 8 to 9 players at the front end of the draft that have cut themselves loose from the other pack, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
And from what I see most writers say. And I just feel like Buffalo, they're going to be in that regardless. Even if those top 3 picks go to other teams, not in the bottom 8, Buffalo's still going to be like with the top 10 pick.
Yep.
So they cannot screw that up. They got to get the right fit. There's been criticisms of like the Middlestad pick and stuff like that. So they got to buckle down here and get this one right, as many teams have to, but definitely teams like Buffalo who are on the hot seat.
And I think draft-wise, they're on a great foot with Dylan Cousins of last year. I'm such a huge fan of that pick, and I think he'll be an excellent fit. If you nail this draft, I think you're running with a lot of good momentum into the future, and I think that will keep the fans happy, and I think that will just bring positivity into the next year. And I think that will really ride true, and I think it will fix a lot of things. But keep it going. Give us someone. Just nail this. Honestly, nail this, and you're in a good spot. Like they could be a good team. Like Darlene, let's not kid ourselves. He's got a higher ceiling than Cale Makar. This guy is going to be crazy, and a couple more pieces here and there. We've got a team looking for the playoffs. Yeah,
and I will preface this before we get into things. We are not getting into any team needs today. That is going to be for its own episode when we can do a mock draft. Yeah. Today we are solely just looking at the prospect pool, the draft class of 2020, and ranking where these guys land in our minds and our criteria of who the best pound for pound players are. So that's what we're getting at. Next time will be more team sensitive. Today is more prospect sensitive.
Correct. Yeah.
So with that said, we now commence Rink Moose's coverage of the 2020 NHL entry draft. And with that said, I will turn the mic to Kyle as I run for another beer. Please point out the format we'll be getting into here with the fans.
Okay, 100%. So what we'll do right now is obviously we're going to go 1 to 31. Every time we say our player, the other guy will say his player. Right after that, if for whatever reason a new name has come up, then we will instantly go into discussion on that. So, for example, if I say I have, Seth Jarvis at first overall, and Nick has Alexis Lafreniere at first overall, we'll discuss both. And then when I get to my Seth Jarvis pick at 5, for example, then I don't go into my discussion of Seth Jarvis because I've already handled it at 1. So that's what we'll do. We'll go through the draft, and 1 to 31. I want to preface this by saying a lot of the meat of the conversation we want to have is probably going to be in the top 15. I'd say both Nick and I are quite familiar with these guys in the top 15. We can give you a really good breakdown, really good analysis. Just to be totally candid, later on in the round, we know the guys, we know why we want them where they are, but we don't know quite as much about these guys. We haven't seen them as much. We haven't gotten in the viewings that we would have liked to. They're just harder to watch in general. So later on in the draft, we're going to say why we had them there and a little bit about their skill set and why we like them, and then we'll continue for there. But the main meat of the conversation, the debate, is ideally going to be in the top 15. And yeah, just before we start this, Nick, I'm going to run to the washroom.
Okay.
If you want to take a break, take a break. Or if you want to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I will preface this by saying we basically, I mean, Kyle's been a lot more tracking the draft class in the past year pretty extensively. For me, it's been more of a crash course in the past few weeks as far as getting to know the whole crop, the whole top 30. But as everybody knows, having lived in Kingston the last 8 months, I got to see a lot of games, lots of players live. We're talking the Cole Perfettis of the world, the Marco Rossi's of the world, the Quentin Byfields, those top guys, those top 15 guys Kyle was alluding to. We've been fortunate enough to see them live in person. I mean, of course, Kyle and I went to Hamilton for the CHL the CHL Top Prospects game. So we've got to see a lot of these guys live, and this is going to be a mix between who's passed the eye test both live when we've seen them, who passes it in the footage we've seen from some great producers on YouTube who've put some clips together, and on The Athletic, the articles we've read on all these players. So we've gone quite broadly in making our assessment here, and we hope you guys value our opinions because we for one think we've done our homework here, and we're happy to provide you guys with our opinions. So without further ado, Kyle, why don't we just start off with what will probably be one of the shortest discussions of today's show. First overall.
Wait, before you start. Just real quick, like literally less than 3 minutes. I want to give you guys a little bit of my personal rules on why I rank players the way I do and what I look for. So real quick, bullet points here. Hockey sense, skill, and character are paramount to me when I evaluate a prospect. Center is most coveted, followed by D, then wing. However, if I feel a winger can drive a line by himself and play a good two-way game, I will place him just as valuable as a center. So if a winger can play, think of a Patrick Kane, think of a Mark Stone, Panarin, Huberdeau, Marner, Draisaitl. When these guys are on the wing and they're playing their game, I see them just as valuable as a center, minus the face-off stuff. But they can drive a full line. Size matters to me. If you're small, you better bring a very dynamic skating package, or you're going to slide. Pedigree matters to me. What I mean by that is I like seeing that you've had international experience. I like seeing you've gone through the Hockey Canada program. I like seeing you've gone through the USA program. I want to see that you've played international play. That's big for me. It means you're not just having a one-off year. Consistency in your growth and development. Younger players will get a slight boost. What I mean by that is Quentin Byfield's born in August. He's still 17. He's got more room to grow. Pedigree matters. Again, your resume. Show me what you've done. If you've worn the C, I love that. That's great for me. International play and playoffs will be looked upon by me as big game experience. Call it what you will. Some people totally discount the World Juniors. I don't get that motto. I look at that as, can you join a new team, gel, cooperate with your line mates, and show up in big games. I'll take into account role, context, injuries as much as I can, league talent as well. Injury history is a big factor, especially for one guy that we're going to touch on 100%. Chronic injury guys like a Nolan Patrick. We've now learned that this has got to be looked at as a serious issue. And that's all. So now we can start.
Yeah. And for me, it's a lot of those things you mentioned. But for me, the categories I would stress are skating, character, competitiveness, and hockey sense. And those to me are my pillars and the ones I've emphasized the most in making this list. As I told the fans while you were out, Kyle, a lot of this is from the top guys, is a lot from what I've seen in person, from from where we've been fortunate enough to see some of these players. A lot of it is online through a lot of these clips that these great YouTube producers have put together.
Draft Dynasty,
who I love. This guy's an enigma. I need to meet this man. He's wonderful. And of course the great writers on The Athletic. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's, and of course the hidden thing. You may ask, character. Well, how the hell does Nick rate character when he hasn't even met these guys? When he hasn't shaken their hand and looked them in the eye? How is he supposed to know this? Well, my friends, I looked at interviews of every one of these prospects, and I picked them apart one by one.
Can't wait to hear this.
So there you go. My I will. That was a huge criteria for me, and you're gonna see that in this list here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear the analysis from that, but I mean, there's definitely guys out there who don't show their stuff in interviews.
For sure.
But this
is all I got. I don't have cameras behind the scenes. I'm just going off what I got.
For sure. It's a good it's an addition, not a side product. So that's just good to have.
All right. So with that said, I would do you a disservice by introducing our first player.
Oh,
someone you've been rambling about the last 3 years.
What an honor!
He's finally gonna, hopefully to God, we're gonna find out the team he plays for in 13 short days, and it's just a moment Kyle's been waiting a very, very long time for. So without further ado, Kyle, why don't you introduce who's going first overall in the 2020 NHL draft?
Jean-Luc Foudy.
Nice.
All right, no more fucking around. Okay, so, where do we even start with this player? Left winger from the Rimouski Oceanic, Alexis Lafreniere. Nick's not kidding. This guy's been on the radar for so long. Came out as a rookie, born in October, scored more than 40 goals, and you're like, fuck, this guy's a crazy goal scorer. Comes out the next season. Holy shit, this guy's hockey sense and playmaking ability is off the charts. He goes out and wins CHL Player of the Year in his draft -1. Well, guess what? He just won CHL Player of the Year in his draft year as well. He's the first player, maybe the only player to do that twice in a row since Sidney Crosby. Not even McDavid did that, surprisingly. I don't know what the hell happened there, but that's crazy. World Junior Championship MVP as a draft year player. That does not happen, guys. I'm sorry. Like, go back in the last 15 years. I mean, draft year players they're just not the best player at this tournament. It's a 19-year-old dominated tournament. They're not likely to be on the top echelon of their respected country. That's very, very rare. His resume is absolutely unsurpassed in the last 5 years, maybe 10, probably 10, because the last 5 years is where the meat of this shit is. Like I just said, and I mean, he's the package. And what stands out most to me for him is a near generational level hockey sense. He thinks the game at such a level, because you can look at him as a player and say, oh, there's not really one skill that jumps out, and he's not the fastest guy, he doesn't have the craziest hand, he doesn't do this or that better than this or this player. But the guy thinks the game, puts it all together at such a level that I don't think we've seen since McDavid, perhaps. And to me, that creates a draft prospect that is right up there, and I think he's the best prospect since McDavid, above Matthews, above a Dahlin in terms of talent level, though he is on the wing. You can debate the value, but there's nothing else this guy can prove. He's ready. He's going to be a staple for the next 20 years, and I can't wait.
Wow. And so amazing how you're gonna find out who the beneficiary of that is, hopefully in 13
2 weeks.
It's crazy. It's crazy how many implications will come from a short a few seconds.
Yeah.
And how much hope can be erased in a span of seconds. All the fans from different markets who will be tuning in and their dreams crushed, you know?
All those Detroit fans.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Oh, God.
And, Kyle, he's Kyle's guy, so I'll let him have the floor, and I don't have too much to add.
Oh, I could go on for days.
I just love how not only is he skilled and produces, and he's this great player, but it's also the fact he is almost like he's just so multifaceted. The fact he can not only score and lead a team, but he can also add the physical element. And we saw that in the World Juniors, those shifts where he just hops off the bench and sprints into the corner to nail that guy. Everyone remembers that moment. And then like just small things like the leadership and the infectious smile on the bench. Like he loves to play the game. Kyle told me this kid loves to play hockey more than anybody else. Like just that element, the youthful exuberance, the childish smile. It's wonderful to see. And so to have a guy who not only produces but has that brand attached to him, I think he's going to be extremely marketable.
Yes.
And I think any fan base he goes to, he's going to become a fan favorite. So he's special in that way, in that he's not only this great player, but he transcends past just the game and can be a real face for a franchise. So that's why I think he's special, and I think the team that gets him is just going to be so lucky to have him. For the interview segment, I don't even need an interview to evaluate him. Because as we've talked about, he's the goofy guy behind the scenes.
He's pretty dry.
When he's on an interview, he's dry. He's all business. But as you've told me, behind the scenes, the guy's the favorite guy in the locker room. He's everyone's favorite teammate. So not much to say there. And as far as just things I like on the ice, I love how on the power play you can literally position him anywhere. He can run the thing from the point. He can also play in the middle, the bunker. He could also get in front of the net.
Yeah.
He's so big with that big shoulder frame, the shoulder pads. I always joke around. He always looks so big. But, man, like he's so good. There are so many times when he's playing, he looks bored. Like he just looks bored, like he shouldn't be there. He should be playing on another planet. So that element is just so neat. So that's what I got for him, and can't really add much more than what you mentioned.
Yeah, you nailed it. And that personality of his, he's going to be a future captain. It doesn't matter where he's going to be a future captain. His teammates will love him instantly. I don't know if you saw that Quebec, the Great Quebec Hope video, but they highlighted how there hasn't been a whole lot of amazing Quebec players in the past, and this could be the player that puts Quebec back on the map, because they used to have, Guy Lafleur, Mario Lemieux, all these crazy, Patrick Waugh, all these amazing guys, and it's dried up recently. So there's so much that he represents, and I think the world of him, and he's got a very soft place in my heart. Now let me ask you this, Nick, just as a little talking point, where do you compare him for the last 5 first overall picks?
I think he's right there with Matthews. And we've talked about this. We've got into debates about how Matthews might get you the goals and Laf might get you the elite playmaking, and they differ in that respect. But as I've come to learn about him some more, he's got a sneaky good shot. And so I think that gives him the potential to score and be a 40-goal scorer in the NHL. I really do. Mm-hmm. So I think he's more multifaceted than Matthews. Yes, Matthews might score 50 every year and maybe even 60. I know he was approaching that pace this year, and he's not even in his prime, which is crazy. But to me, Matthews is the goal scoring, but I think the all-around presence, like Matthews isn't physical. The guy still plays like a teddy bear.
No, God.
Yeah. You wouldn't put him on the penalty kill.
God, no.
Laff is an elite penalty killer. He didn't get many looks in the World Juniors, but I kept telling Kyle, if they decide to go that route, which I know they did on a few shifts, he's excellent. His hockey sense is so outstanding that he can definitely play that role. So I just like the multifaceted aspect of his game, but then he also can score the 40 goals. So maybe he doesn't get the 50 or the 60, but he doesn't need that. He gets the 40 goals. He gets the 60 assists, 70 assists, and he's a 100-plus point player. And he's the leader on your team, and he rocks the C, and he plays 24 minutes a night because he's on the penalty kill.
This guy, like, we haven't talked. He shows up in big games.
Yeah, that too.
Like think about the Holinka. He was one of the youngest players. He showed up. He won MVP. He was the highest scoring player there. World Juniors, you saw it. He brings the physical game, even though a player of his caliber really doesn't need to. Matthews would never fucking play like that. We didn't like his skating last year. I was very worried about his skating last year. This year, I have no issues. You know why? Because he knew that. He worked on it. He showed that, he can recognize something, improve upon it, and he's got that work ethic. And, like, there's nothing you want him in the playoffs. There's nothing he really can't do. He's a better package than a Matthews in my mind. He might not score the goals, but you just want this player, and you really, really do.
Yeah, I almost wish the Leafs were shit right now, like they were when the Matthews draft happened. So I'd have him instead of Matthews. Like when we got Matthews, I was a Leaf fan, and I was just like, oh, okay, like we're gonna get Matt. We got the best player.
Yeah,
but I didn't really know much about him, or I wasn't really that obsessed with him. I was just like, we're getting a very productive player.
Right.
But to get Laff and I'm a fan of that team. Like if the Kings get Laff, I'm done. Like I'm done. I'm leaving this podcast.
I can't imagine.
I'm becoming just a fanboy of the LA Kings. Like that's it. That's it.
And it should go to say I'm instantly purchasing whatever jersey comes up on that draft lottery, even if it is a Kings jersey. That would create such a dynamic that I can't even think of what it would be like. But I mean, we could spend all night talking about him, but there's got to be we've got 30.
Yeah, we got to move on. I think we'll get into him more when we get to the lottery episode, and we'll get to break that down.
Yeah,
then.
Guys, we like the guy. Let's put it that way. Yeah. We like him. Okay. So here's where now it gets interesting, right? Now things actually open up. We don't have to fucking piggyback on each other. Oh, I agree, man. Yeah, good point. All right. So who wants to do this?
I thought you were going first.
Okay, fine. Okay. So this might be a little bit off the board. It might not be, but number 2, center / winger, Tim Stützle.
Okay.
So I have him at number 2, and unfortunately
it's Stützle.
Stützle. Sorry. Yeah. Whatever. The main justification for putting him here is going to come at my next pick, because, well, let's just get into the positives. Stützle he's a dancer on the ice. He's a unicorn. Mm-hmm. He's a German-born player, and he's got that Patrick Kane level skill where he can dance around the ice in the zone, and he can just find his guys. Excellent playmaker. Really understands the game. I think you're going to bring up good interview skills too. He's a good kid. He's got all the talent to be a number 2 overall pick. I know guys like Stevie Y are really high on him. I just think that he brings that mobility that Lafreniere can't really match. While Lafreniere's got the brain and the skills, Stützle has this mobility that it's hard to touch. And he's got this kind of mystical stick handling I can't really describe, but really, really interesting player. Center, which is great. He can play center or wing. If they can get him into that center and cement him there, very, very high value in that. He's a can't miss. He's just a can't miss. The skill level is there. Put himself on the map for me at the World Juniors in some of those highlights. Just a really likable player at this spot, and I'm more comfortable. Like he's not my second favorite player here. I'm just more comfortable. I don't think he's gonna burn me. There's not a lot of bust potential. I'm happy with Tim right at 2.
So I guess I'll give you my thoughts on Tim Stützle. I will start by I will start by saying I disagree. He's not my second on my list.
Okay. Fair, good.
I really like this player. I think hands down, just on the ice when you watch him, face value, this is the sexiest player in the draft. As far as the way he moves, skating, how smooth the edge work is. Yeah. Like you said, the ballerina, the unicorn. It all fits. Yeah. He passes the eye test with flying colors.
Yes.
And anybody will see that. You don't need to know much about hockey to just say, well, that guy skates a lot better than Anton Lindell. Right. You know? So you know, I love his work ethic. He's not some hot dog who will just be this great ballerina in the O zone and then half-ass it in the D zone. He will get back. He will back check. He will be responsible, which is wonderful. He's uber competitive. He is always trying out there, never takes a shift off. When you combine the skill, but also the fact there's going to be some consistency there with the work ethic, it just adds this whole other element and makes you extremely invested in the player. As Kyle said, he's a great interview, fun-loving kid, can't complain at his young age right now. He passes the interview test. The only little criticisms I have is, does he have the presence of mind to be a net front, fight in the corner kind of guy? You know, does he want to get his hands dirty? I know he's sexy and he's going to make the nice moves and the nice passes and he's going to be mainly a perimeter guy. But when push comes to shove, can he find that extra gear and work in front of the net and cause a havoc or fight for that puck and beat two guys in the corner for the puck? Can he use the body? I need to see that multifaceted element, kind of like Laf has,
right,
to get him at 2. And is it partly why the guy I have at 2 is more similar to Laf in that respect? So that's where I'm at with him, and I will eventually get to where I have him on my list.
Yeah, I mean, your concerns, I think they're totally legitimate. I think a lot of these European players have that problem where, let's be honest, in the open ice, it's a little bit more difficult to get dirty, to get physical, to get those kind of grinding shifts in. So we haven't seen a lot of that. It's a big problem I have with another guy down the list. He does have a body on him. He's 6 foot. He's 187. So I don't distrust his physical features, but I totally get what you're saying. I just think that even if he can't do that, and if he's put in a position where he doesn't have to do that, he can still be extremely effective. And I think he's smart enough, skilled enough to work those boards to be effective regardless. I don't see him as a net front guy, like you said, but I don't think he's going to need to be. I think he's got the skills to work in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, whoever gets him, like I've seen some lists he's dropping to like 8. Like if you get him at 8, like you're clamoring because
that's Montreal.
Any other year, this guy's going 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's weird.
That just shows how strong a draft class is, and whoever gets him is just going to be laughing if he drops. So yeah, he's great, and I wish him the best. I like I said, I don't want to make it sound like I dislike the player. I love this player, but he doesn't come ahead of this next name for me. So do I go to 2 now and then?
So you do your 2.
I do my 2 and then we do your 3? Okay.
Well, as you say your 2, I'm going to go. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
My second ranked player and I'll preface this by saying the stuff I said about Stützle and how I don't see that net front, the dirty work area. He lacks that thing Laf has. This guy has that. I picked him because he fits all those holes. He's more similar to Laf than you think. In that he's really multifaceted and can play everywhere. And that to me is Marco Rossi.
Oh!
I have Marco. I really this player's grown on me in the last few weeks. I never got to see him live in Kingston because he got suspended the one game I was going to go. We got to see him at the CHL Top Prospects game. I was really thrilled with him there. Michael was really thrilled with him when we talked with prospects with Michael a few episodes ago.
Yeah,
I'll get into it like this.
Wow,
and you're gonna laugh because you're gonna disagree because you love this player, you adore this player. I'm looking at his jerseys. His jersey's right in front of me, right here. Of all these players, I watched the tape. He's the most similar to Crosby than every player in this draft, and let me get into why.
I agree.
Physically, he fits that same mold. He's short and stocky, but he's strong on the lower body. He's got these big shoulders. He's the only guy other than Laf. There's three guys who, when you physically look at them on the ice, they look unique. Laf with his kind of like big shoulder presence, weird skating style.
Yeah.
Byfield because he's a fucking giant, and then Rossi because he's like short and tiny, but he looks strong like up top. He looks like Crosby just looking at the guy. Short, stocky, big shoulders. That's just physically. Then we get into how he plays. Not only does he have the same build as Crosby, but just watching him, he's patient. He's smart. He makes the right plays. He doesn't make bad passes. He's a two-way player who will play just as well in the D zone as he does in the O zone. He will PK. He PK'd for the best team in the OHL this past year, the 67s, who ran away with the OHL title.
Yeah.
His face-off percentage is very good. I think it's almost 60%. I think it's like 59%.
Right.
He has very good hands. He's not flashy like Stützle. He's not going to pull these rabbits out of his hat, but he has way above average hands, which I don't think he gets enough respect for. If he's one-on-one, he can make a play out of it. Don't get me wrong. He's not just this great like playmaker who helps the guys around him, but he can create chances by himself, and that's important too. You notice the compete level right away. He skates harder than every guy on the ice. He's always giving it 100%. I noticed this live at the showcase we went to. His playing style is just infectious. It leaps up at you, the work ethic, and I just love seeing that. Here's the knock: not the fastest skater, not near the top end of the skating guys by a long shot. But it has improved of late from what I've heard. His edge work is good, and that's what's important. It's like Crosby. He's very good on his edges. Yeah. If he has to change direction, like maybe not the best straightaway speed, but if he has to change direction, cycling in the zone, he's very good in that respect, and that's why the skating will be serviceable. The other thing is size, but like I said, for me and I should have mentioned this from the get-go from my start, size doesn't matter to me if you compete like a demon and you give it your effort, because you can mitigate size by reintegrating work ethic. And I truly believe in that, and we're seeing the way the NHL is trending. Size matters less and less every single year, and is why I could see him slotting in as soon as opening night next season. He's one of those few players who has the smarts and the work ethic to just punch his way into there right away. Only a few players here I actually took quotes. You know, I like taking my quotes from The Athletic.
Yeah.
This comes from Scott Wheeler of The Athletic.
Scott.
Rossi isn't far from my idea of a perfect hockey player. He can break teams down through seams. He can beat defenders one-on-one, both off the cycle and the rush. He can score with release or his hands and footwork. He plays in the middle of the ice but knows when to take the outside lane. And he's the best defensive forward in the draft. Some evaluators point to his height and question whether he'll stick at center. Others question his late birthday and dominant team for the effect they may have had on his remarkable production. And while the latter has some effect on my evaluation, the former is lazy and doesn't account for how strong he is or the way his low center of gravity in his stance helps him fight off his bigger defenders. He's also one of the most determined, focused prospects I've ever interacted with, and is probably the most NHL-ready player in the draft after Lafreniere. So the team that selects him is getting an impact player from day one. We're not here talking potentials. We're here today just talking about the best prospects here today, and is why I have Marco Rossi number 2.
Well, fuck, Nick. Like, how can I disagree with most of the shit that you just said? If this guy was, and don't get me wrong, I think Marco Rossi is a better player than Tim Stützle today. But I am totally going on, if I were a GM, who would I want to take for my team? I think he's right. Like you said, the Crosby comparison's perfect. The straight line speed, it's good, but it's not amazing. In the zone, he's incredibly smart. He's got all this stuff, but all whatever you said, whoever said it. This guy at 5'9", I can't see him as a center. It's incredibly rare. You've got Braden Point, might be the only guy who pulls this off at center ice. Now, can he be that next guy? I don't know. The strength, no matter how strong you are, you're 5'9", and I think he's such a fantastic talent, best player in the draft behind Lafreniere today. But I take Stützle because I think he's got the higher ceiling. The raw skill is higher, and I think that he can reach a level that Marco Rossi cannot. And I just think, I love the guy. I have a really soft spot for this guy. He really grew on me. I didn't like him at first, but I can't disagree with anything you said because there's no faults in his game. He's a guy who I think has ironed out with work ethic and good leadership every single aspect of his game. The next question I have is, what more do you have? That's my only question for him is, can you squeeze more out of that lemon, You've already squeezed it enough, and I think you're getting so much lemon juice out of that. I don't know how much more is left from he's one of the older players in the draft. So I think he's really good, kudos to him, but that's the only reason I don't have him at 2. I still really, really love him, and someone's going to get a great player, but that's the only reason there.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree. I think it is a lot philosophy, right? Are you ranking your guys today based on the ceiling and the potential, or based on where they are today, right?
Right.
And I think we just have to end it at that. I think that's just a difference in opinion.
Sure.
And with that said, we can't dwell on him too much. So, with that said, who do you have at 3?
At 3, yeah. So, my buddy boy, Quinton Byfield of the Sudbury Wolves.
Buddy boy.
Now, this is such a weird... This is maybe one of the bigger discussion points because Quinton Byfield, statistically, size-wise, everything... You should have him right up there with Laf. And a lot of people do. A lot of people have him neck and neck with Laf. But why, whenever I look around, are people coming up with excuses? Why is it whenever we talk about Quinton Byfield, he's like, yeah, this and this, but, he's young. But he didn't have a good role here. But his teammates weren't this good. Why is there always excuses? You and I have seen this guy personally, sometimes live, sometimes on the television. And we've always come away a little bit disappointed. Okay, it's just what it is. It is what it is. Another thing, for a guy with his caliber, his upper echelon talent, he's never led an international team, something I really highly covet. He wasn't the best player at the Hlinka. He wasn't the best player at the under-18s. I can't remember him being the best player at the under-17s. He's just kind of fit in with the guys. That's okay. It's just not why I have him at 2. He should be my number 2. I've been swapping him in at 2 and 3. Some guys I have him at 1. I know a guy who has him at 1. He's not there for me because of that. Is he a big game player? Again, internationally, doesn't show up for me. Playoffs, it might be a different story, but we haven't seen too much of him. Sure, he's young. That means there's a lot of potential there. And I hear a lot of this Evgeny Malkin talk. Now, why is that? Because for a big guy, this is what everyone says, he can skate, and it's absolutely true. He's got the hands. He can really skate. He's got a cannon of a shot when he can use it. But and that reach, sometimes he's got little glimpses of this. Sometimes he's got that spider-like reach where it's like, oh my God, this guy's got ranginess that no one can really touch. But it's like, you run into the Matthews problem a little bit. Why aren't you physically engaging? Why aren't you using this 6'4", 6'5" frame to your advantage? And he just comes across as soft. And it's like, well, how come this hasn't been coached out of him? And then I start to think, is there some sort of work ethic thing here? Is there a character thing here? We've seen the interviews. I want you to touch on this because I know he doesn't have the best interviews. And there's something there, skill aside, that is whispering to me, be careful with this player. I want to like him, but he's never raised. The next guy on my list, I'm looking down the list. Everybody has raised their game in big games when I've watched them. Mm-hmm. He has not done that. When I met him in person on the pond, he was wearing a fucking winter jacket. Yep. Everyone else was wearing a sweater. So what do I do, Nick? What do I do? He was wearing a full-on Canada Goose, down parka. It was fucked.
It's a big flashback.
It was
that
fucked.
was season 1 of the Rink Moose Podcast.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want him at 2. He was at 2, and now he's at 3. I would be more comfortable as a general manager taking Stoitzel, and I'd be really comfortable taking Rossi over this player. But I just think, what if? Mm-hmm. What if he figures it out? What if he's a 17-year-old and he's very, very immature? Then I think you're getting somewhere. But I'm not going to say he's a Malkin. I see him more as maybe a Rick Nash, So that's me on Quinton.
Yeah, to get to it really quickly, that the whole interview thing. I mean, this segment I do what I'm going to do with every player. Listen, I'm not here to trash guys' character, okay? I'm not here to do that. It's part of the reason the experts don't have a character category.
Right.
Because in a way you're dishing on the person in general, and we're not here in the business to do that. So all I did was I just said if you passed or failed the interview test. He, of course, failed in flying colors.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, of course he failed. And the responses aren't good, and they're short, quick responses, and he's kind of, he's got this dumb look to him, and he just doesn't seem that serious. So I could be wrong. Again,
we're gonna get roasted for this, Nick.
Again, I'm just going off the interviews. I don't know who he is, so I'm not here to judge the guy.
100%.
I'm just telling you what people are seeing, and that's that quick point. But as far as on the ice, I was in love with this player from day one. I talked to you. You'd show me the clips. I'd see the Sudbury Wolves video of this big bulking character rushing up the ice, straightaway speed. And getting off a quick release when he's in straightaway. That's when I think he's in his best. When he has open ice and he sees it and he races up, crosses the opponent's blue line, and just snaps one by the goalie. That is when he's at his best. That is a skill that no one else in this draft class has. And is why he's special for that reason. But the other aspects make him a one-dimensional player. Yes, he's great with the puck, but what about when he doesn't have the puck? What does he give up? When he loses, when he makes a bad play, does he just pout and put his head down and give up? Yeah, we've seen him do that. That's not up for debate. We have seen him do that. There's clips of that. It's a thing. When he's in the defensive zone, can he play defense like these other guys, these Rossies and Laughs that I have at the top of my draft? I don't know. So that difference between with the puck, without the puck, that's a big thing. His softness. For a guy who's 6'4" with that much weight, shouldn't you be nailing guys on the boards? Shouldn't you be showing more pride in your play and being more physical because you're a hulking beast compared to the rest of these guys? If it's you and Marco Rossi, are you going to let Marco Rossi push you around 5'9", but Marco Rossi push around a 6'4" Byfield?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
Based on what we've seen so far, yeah. So I don't see the complete package enough in him for me to make him a top 3 player, and that's why he's not in the top 3 in my rankings. And like you said, the potential's there. That it's that transition speed with the shot that is his calling card. The hands is great for a guy his size, which is rare. You don't often see guys that big being that coordinated. It's almost like a big basketball player having good hands. Like, it just doesn't exist. They're usually just these guys that rebound and dunk.
Right.
Well, this guy can do the skilled plays that Stützle can make, but he's even got a higher reach and higher height. So that makes him special. He's like, when he's at his high, he's higher than anybody in this draft class. But when he's at his low, he sulks, man. Like, literally, physically, when you watch the guy and in his play. So that's where I stand on him. He's the most divisive prospect. Well, maybe not. There's a couple names here that maybe will give him a fight for that. But he's definitely divisive, and for all those reasons, he's at the top, but he's not quite at the top for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, if we knew more about his inside story, maybe we'd have a different take, because I think we can agree he's got the physical tools to make it and be amazing, but it's between the ears.
Yeah,
it's completely between the ears with him, and who's his support system? What's that like? Yeah. We don't know, so that's why we can't really gamble on him at 1 or 2 like some are willing to do. So yeah, that's 3.
Number 3 for Nick. Jamie Drysdale.
Woohoo! Jesus!
I'm just surprising Kyle from every corner here.
No, I love it. It's great. Wow, that's great. That's surprising.
So Jamie Drysdale is number 3 for me, and for me, he's been one of those leading guys who I've liked since day one. I haven't really wavered on him. I always liked him. From the get-go, I knew of all the D in this draft, this is the one guy who had the ceiling of a Hughes and Makar. There's only one in this whole draft. And the difference between the first defenseman, Drysdale, and the second defenseman, whoever you have there, is huge. Unlike any other draft we've seen before. And for all those losers out there saying that Sanderson has all of a sudden made a run to catch up to him, that's a malarkey. The only reason he's up there is because people they just immediately look for who the next best guy is. They find him and they shoehorn him in the top of their ranking. That's what's going on. But the reality is these guys are he is way above your Sandersons and your Ghoulies and your other characters out there. So to me, I love this player because if the way I want to sum this player is if I was a very good hockey skater and I had all the elements of a very good player, I think I would be Jamie Drysdale. The reason I say that is because he has this elite hockey sense. He's extremely smart. I mean, one-on-one defending, he doesn't let a lot of guys go past him. He's very positionally aware. He that mitigates his size. He's not the biggest guy. He's not a Pietrangelo or a Roman Josi with his size. But despite that size, his stick positioning, his physical positioning on the ice, he's always at the right place at the right time, and defensively he will perform as a top 2 defenseman should. But that doesn't make you a top 3 prospect. What makes you a top 3 prospect is not only having that and carrying your load on the D zone, but being an elite offensive playmaker, and that's his calling card. You watch the backward crossovers. You watch the way he quote unquote walks the line. Something Nick loves to see. God! Say. Few players do that as well as he does. It is Makarian, it is Hughesian, call it whatever you want. That's where he is. For me, he just needs to get bigger. He needs to work out some more, get more physical, and I think that'll make him an elite player. I think he's a stud D. I just think if he wants to be like elite kind of like franchise player, I think he just needs to put on some size. But like I said, I mean, you saw Kyle talked about it at the start. How do you do on the biggest stages? The reality is that this guy dominated the Hlinka Gretzky, and then when he got his call at the World Juniors, when Bowen Byram went down with that flu or whatever in the semifinal, Drysdale shot up. He got the minutes finally he needed in that tournament, and boy oh boy did he stand out in that semifinal versus Finland. So I think he's wonderful. He's shown he can play at the highest level. You've seen him play against the best teams in the OHL, how he shuts down those guys. He played with a shitty Erie team and is a big reason why his point total maybe isn't extremely high. He averages just above a point per game. So I think I think it checks all the boxes. Corey Pronman, Mr. Conman, who you don't like.
Hate that guy.
He had him ranked as the best skater of the draft.
I can't disagree.
So there he is. Best skater in the draft, and for me, his comparison, and me now being Mr. Historian, Scotty Niedermayer. And I know it's thrown around there a lot. I'm not the first one to say it, but you watch the 4-minute clip of Scotty Niedermayer before you go to bed tonight.
Right.
And this guy is this guy. He's little, and you almost don't expect him to have that offensive flair. But when he turns it on, when he doesn't have any other options, and he takes it upon himself to produce. He gets the job done. He's fearless. He will rush up the ice and lead that rush. He will also get back if he's caught back and do that. I just love he does everything. He defends. He play makes. He could have a better shot. A smaller guy like Quinn Hughes actually has an underrated shot. Quinn Hughes does have a decent shot. I think if he can add that kind of Quinn Hughes shot, I think that could make him push him to that level. So,
a smart shot.
Not
a boomer, but
yeah. Something low and hard that can like generate a rebound or might beat a goalie. Because his shot is pretty poor. It's an average D shot, which needs to be better. So, I mean, that's something you can improve. That's something amendable to improvement, whereas other things are tougher to improve. So the things that are tougher to improve, he does at an elite rate, and that's why I have him at 3. And the interview check, he passes the interview test. My only criticism would be he almost comes off as too nice in interviews. I'd like to see a more fiery side to him.
Sure.
I want to see him. I want to see the angry Jamie.
Sure.
And I want to see how he gets what his persona changes when he's in overtime in a very important game.
Yeah.
Not just the nice guy in the interview. So that's my only complaint there.
Yeah. Just to be frank, we'll skip ahead here. I have him at 4, so we might as well do that now. Absolutely everything you said. I know a really respected scout. At least I respect him. I don't know how many other people do, but he has him at number 2. And he said if he was on a team like London, who's a much better team, like he said, he plays for a shitty team. If he was on a better team, he would have had like 80-plus points, and he would have been in the conversation for 1. He would have been up there with Byfield, Lafreniere, as this guy should maybe go number 1. Not many guys, and let's be honest, his top speed isn't crazy fast, but if you've ever... It's crazy because if you've ever seen a player who can skate laterally, side to side, backwards, as well as he can skate forwards, the guy can, mobility-wise, place himself anywhere he wants to on the ice with incredible efficiency, as slippery as a seal, as some would call it. He uses that skill as his main defensive point. He'll just get in on the positioning on his defenseman. It's really incredible to watch. Him at the World Juniors to make the team is a crazy feat. When Bowen Byram went down, Drysdale, I think he was one of the better defensemen in that game on the team. It was crazy to watch. He got that great goal as a player, young as he is on the defense. Crazy, stepped up in a big game. I think he's actually better defensively in his defensive-minded game than a Makar. I think Makar's got some holes in his defensive game. I think Makar's got more offensive flair and that kind of thing. But you know what? He's very, very responsible. And I really love his interviews. He comes across as perhaps the most mature. Like he's not the most dry. He's not as dry as Laugh. He's not kind of silly like Byfield, I'll say. He's got that sweet spot where he's like, okay, this guy's a really genuine, good, just a good guy. So what more do you want? I'll tell you the one thing I want that would have put him higher for me. I like, personally, my defenseman to be able to physical kind of work guys in front of the net. He might have a bit of a problem with that. along the boards, NHL caliber guys, sure. But if he builds his base and his physical stature, he'll be just fine. He'll be top pairing defenseman, absolutely bar none. Great talent.
So if I were you, I may get ready to get your next guy, because for me, we're at the point now where So number 4, Tim Stützle, and I already spoke about him. That's 3 slots for me.
Number 5, Marco Rossi. We went over him. Okay. So who's your 5?
My 5 is Quentin Byfield.
Which we did.
We already went over.
So we're moving, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. My God.
And one thing I will say is, one thing that helped me make these rankings was, instead of just going 1, 2, 3, 4, I tiered the players.
Oh, you did,
So I threw them into tiers,
okay,
and then I ranked them based on those tiers.
Yeah.
And that way, instead of looking at 31 names and ranking them, I got to just look at 5 or 6 and rank them that way.
Okay.
So for the record, my tier 1, and I didn't want to just put Laffin as one tier, because even though that might be true, it's just lazy.
Sure.
So I did Laff 1, and then the next 4 guys, Rossi, Drysdale, Stützle, Byfield, all in that same tier. So that is a tier for me. The next group of guys, as much as people talk about the top 8, the top 9, they don't come close to that class. That is a class.
100%.
Okay.
I think I've got that reflects my rankings, and I can totally get behind that for sure.
Okay. So who's your 6?
I'm glad we're both missing one particular guy. I can't wait to talk about him, because he's. You'll see what I say, but why don't you go first with 6? Because we're both on 6.
And potentially this is that guy, and I put him in there kind of reluctantly.
Okay.
Almost like pressured based on my peers.
I think I know where this is going.
But there is a personal aspect. Had I not seen this player live, I definitely would not have him where he is right now. But I did have the fortune to see him live, and for that reason, I have the points to back him up.
Okay.
So with number 6, I will be dropping the Cole Perfetti card.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't see that.
So that's who I'm talking about.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because a lot of guys are down on him, especially that respected guy you were talking about. I think he had him something like 17th.
He did. Yeah.
So, for me, like I said, I got to see him live, and that's where he stuck out to me. He put up 5 points for Saginaw against Kingston that night. They came back, won the game 6-5. It was the same game me and Michael were at without knowing we were at the same game.
Yes.
It was fantastic. They looked down and out, and then all of a sudden the coach started double shifting the kid. He put him at center instead of the wing, and he just took over. And here's what I want to get into. People call him the smartest player in the draft. They call him Stevie Y. He's got that smartness to him. He just knows where to be. He can create offense just using his mind, and he can slow the play down via his hockey sense. Almost, what's that fellow's name from last year's draft? The one who went to Anaheim?
Zegras?
Almost Zegras-like. Zegras was known for his playmaking, his flashy passes, his seemingly eyes all over his head. He can see everybody.
Yeah.
Perfetti kind of has that element. He looks effortless when he plays. He's not the best skater. That's the biggest knock on him. But I think he makes up for it with just being positionally aware, showing the hockey smarts. He can quit when he's away from the puck. That's a knock on him. But for me, it's more just his being positionally in the right place at the right time, finding his teammates. He has this rare ability where you almost forget he's on the ice. If you're defending the team, he kind of slithers his way around you, becomes open, and then either scores or makes a marvelous play to his teammates. It's hard to describe. He's unique in that way, and is a big reason I have him at number 6. He might be one of the most unique players in this draft. He can play center or wing. That's a great advantage. He can finish, so not just play make, but he can finish. He does have a sneaky, decent shot. I just think there's something to be said about a player who can slow the game down, whether it be even strength or power play, and just run the show. You know, like he immediately gets the other team's attention, and you have to now react. Yeah, and it is almost Kane-like, and so that just warrants special attention because not a lot of guys can do that. Maybe only a few every draft class there'll be a guy like that. So that unique ability, that offensive upside, just puts him over the top for me. So he's at 6. Interview-wise, he passes the interview test, albeit gives pretty cliche answers. Yeah. So that's where I sit with him.
Yeah. So you're 6, right? You're at 6. Okay. So I have this player at 9. So I think that's about average, maybe just below average for where he's going. I've seen him at 3. I've seen him at 17. Some people are a little bit divisive on this guy. He's got the talent. He's got the hands, especially, as Craig Button would say, 6 out of 5 hockey IQ. Yeah. What a ridiculous thing to say. What a ridiculous... First of all, this guy doesn't have a higher hockey IQ than Lafreniere. I'm sorry. I went to the fucking World Junior Camp. There's no fucking chance. He really did. Yeah, no. I'm not going to go in on him.
That Laf didn't play that.
He didn't play. No. He didn't play. But, I mean, what I saw was... Okay, I'll go with the good things first. Obviously, the guy thinks the game well. When he's on the power play, when he's in his zone, this guy works really, really well. He can think of 2 plays ahead. Really crazy to watch. Good laterally, skating-wise, but he's a poor speed skater. He's not a good skater.
Agreed.
Can you dispute that he's the worst skater in the top 10? It's not hard to think that.
No, you're right.
He's the worst skater in the top 10.
Yep.
Okay. He does show up in big games. That fucking Hlinka Gretzky blew me away.
History.
He was better than Laf in the same, age-wise.
Yeah.
Crazy, like clutch player.
That matters.
That's a clutch.
And he didn't get a chance to show himself in the World Junior. He didn't make the team, but who knows what would have happened if he made the team.
But he was young, like I can really respect him for that. I have him at 9 because, and I said this right off the hop, he's a smaller player. I saw him in person. He was working out right beside me in the warm-up.
He's a boy.
He's a small guy.
He's a boy.
I wouldn't even call him 5'10", from what I saw. I'd call him just under 5'10". He doesn't have good skating, and some people question his work ethic.
Yep, which is fair.
So this is why I can't have him above some other guys. This is and tell me this. Why is he more than a Sam Reinhart? Sam Reinhart,
to me, he possesses way more offensive upside than Sam Reinhart. Sam Reinhart isn't a quarterback on a power play.
Well, in Sam Reinhart's draft, he was everything Cole Perfetti was. He was the smartest player we've seen in years. He was this amazing WHL player. He was part of that Domi Duclair, Sam Reinhart line in the World Juniors, which everyone was gaga for. They won that crazy year. This is where I see the player turning out to be. Now, Sam Reinhart's decent 5-on-5. I think he's a really good power play presence. But you know what? I think that Sam Reinhart has a little bit of work ethic issues, and he's not the fastest guy. I mean, I just don't see him being all that much more than a 60 to 65 point guy. And at 6, I need more from him. He's still a top 10 player for me. It's not that far back, but I need more at 6.
Well, I think it speaks to how the tier drops. Like I said, I had those guys in that first tier.
Right.
And I'm not saying he's close to 5. I'm not saying he's close to Byfield. He is separate from Byfield. But among those next few guys, I just again, we go into upside. Who's the best today against the upside? In this case, I'm going to put more stock in the upside because I see the creativity. I see the hockey sense. Hockey sense is one of the number of things I value, albeit skating is too, and he's not the best skater. But, I don't care. The game nowadays stresses creativity. Right. It stresses scoring in different ways. And to have this guy leading a line or leading a power play, I will make my bet that he will do that, and he will create offense in a Mitch Marnian way. So to me, that warrants enough to be leading my next tier, which is 6.
Do you see him as a center or a winger?
I think he can play both because when I saw him at that game, it was like Saginaw wasn't trying the whole game, and then the coach said, "Shit, we can't lose to these Frontenacs." and he placed him at center, double shifted him, dominated the game. He would play at the point on the power play, and then all of a sudden he'd slither his way to the front of the net. He'd screen the goalie, and he'd tuck one in front of the net. Like he can be physical too if he wants to. So I was just so impressed, Kyle. Like it take to see a guy in a game to dominate in a game. It changes your mindset of a player. And when you see that, maybe it's bias. Maybe it's this little bias. You see him live in a game, one game, but just to get to see that is why I place so much emphasis on him.
Fair enough. And yeah, the stats don't lie. The stats are on his side.
Yep.
Amazing stats. Even last year. I mean, he had a better year than Byfield last year. 100%.
Absolutely.
So my 6, this might be a little bit controversial, but I took one of the Terror twins. I took Alex Holtz. Nice. Yeah. So why I have him at 6 is because of that point I made earlier. I do put a little bit of an emphasis on a goal scorer as opposed to just a Backstrom type playmaker. This guy's got a 40-goal scorer written all over him. He's the best shooter in the draft. He's actually quite a surprising playmaker too. But when I viewed this guy, he's always been obviously on Team Sweden. He's always been playing with Lucas Raymond, but he scared the shit out of me. You know that feeling you get when you're facing... I had it a lot with Pittsburgh versus Washington. When Ovechkin's on the ice and you're like, Jesus, fuck. Every time the puck touches his stick, I lose a heartbeat. I lose a life. I lose a year on my life. That's what this guy gave me. Like, the one-timer, the snappy, quick wrist shot. It's crazy. The work that he did with Lucas Raymond was crazy. He played in the SHL this year. It's a men's league. It's probably the third best league in the world behind the NHL and the KHL. And he did really well. He adapted much better than Lucas Raymond did. And it's so natural to compare the two because they're pretty much intertwined. He's got a good body on him. He's got really nice hands. He can work his way into the zone. He reminds me of a Forsberg. And you know I like my Forsbergs, you know, from fantasy. I think that he could be a Forsberg with a bit of a higher scoring potential, which is crazy to say. And I just like, maybe he's a little bit more one-dimensional than the guys we've talked about. He can't really run a team by himself, but put him with a good playmaking center, and you've got a 40-goal scorer. That's really high value for me. That's why I put him at 6. But he can't do it alone. That's what I'll say.
Fair enough, and it's fitting. I'm glad this worked out this way. My number 7 is Holtz.
Perfect.
There you have it. I have him ahead of Raymond. For me, you're right. The scoring, I do value that, and the reality is he has a top 3 shot in this draft, without a doubt. In that respect, he can be a power play specialist. He can put himself at the top of the circle and smack him by the goalie, which is fantastic. His skating, in my opinion, gets a bad rap. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of pundits say it is. Right. I look at him, and his strides look pretty good to me, pretty good long strides. So I don't think the skating's that bad. I don't think it's like Perfetti bad. I mean, to me, what Draft Dynasty said, he plays hard, works hard. He's gonna endear himself to coaching staffs. I mean, that's always good to hear. That'll take a big, thumbs up for me. He's physically strong. He looks mature. He doesn't look undersized like Raymond. His body looks NHL ready automatically.
Like an adult.
So that's great. He can fit that power forward mold and put up 40 goals. You're absolutely right. He has an underrated puck skills. He can be flashy if he wants to. If he has to beat a guy one-on-one, I think he can. It's solid. It's solid across the board. There's no complaints, and all in all, that'll make you worthy of being my number 7. The interviews, fun kid, lots of smiles. You could tell he was kind of nervous, but all in all, showed a lot of personality. And ultimately is why I had him at Raymond. So for me, Holtz, number 7.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, I'll jump into my number 7, which is Raymond, now that we talk about him. Kind of natural to have these guys back-to-back. Lucas Raymond, by all the pundits, by both sides of the fence that I talk about, the analytics guys and the eye test guys, this guy has a skill level that should be up there in your top tier. He should be around that 3-4 range. What he didn't do this year in the SHL was show that he could translate that as well as Holtz did. He's a little guy. He shies away from contact a little bit. The physicality worries me a little bit too. But you know what? This guy's a playmaker, and he's a creative guy. He reminds me a lot of Mitch Marner, the way he can kind of skater. Dynamic skater too. He can dart around the zone. He can find guys, pinpoint passes. But again, just like Byfield, there's a little whispering voice saying a little bit of bust potential. And I hate using that word because bust is very subjective. But I just don't think this guy is worth the risk at a higher pick. But that being said, if you get him at 7, you may be getting a top 3 player of the draft just because the natural talent is there. I mean, in the past, when it's junior guys and it's younger guys, he has shown better than Alex Holtz. He's always been higher than Holtz. It's just this year that he's fallen. So, I mean, it's hard to say that this guy's not a great prospect, but at 7, I think he's right where he needs to be because he hasn't quite performed to give me that sense of security this year. But hey, good overall guy, a little bit small. Mitch Marner type for me.
Yeah, the Marner comparison's right on. Hey, another convenient talking point. I have him at number 8 in my rankings.
There you go. We're just stepping here.
We're rolling along. Yeah, the hands are elusive. The hands are fantastic. The skill, the creativity, it's really great. And then the vision, the passing, the power play presence. He can run the power play. Like I said about Perfetti, him and Perfetti are quite similar in that respect. Mm-hmm. The only non-Marner comparison is I don't think he's nearly as good a great skater as Marner. Marner's a fantastic skater. Right. So much so on the penalty kill, he's a monster. I don't think this kid has that penalty kill aspect. I don't think he has that multi-dimensional aspect to his game.
Right.
He seems like a one-way offensive guy who dominates in the O-zone, dominates on the power play, but can't really back it up on the other end of the ice. Not really a 200-foot player like Marner is, which has kind of been a late-blooming thing in Marner's game. It wasn't there earlier in his career, but of late he's become one of the best PK guys in the league. Funny enough, going back to the puck skills, Corey Conman.
Oh, fuck. I can't listen to this.
As far as puck skills, which is one of his categories,
yep,
a score of 70 is elite. There were only 2 players in the whole draft class who had elite puck skills. Laugh and this guy.
Really?
They have this guy has the same puck skill rating as Laugh.
Huh.
So there you go. Everybody else below them.
Huh.
So that's it for him. And yeah, if you're drafting him, you're getting an immensely skilled player whose ceiling is higher than where he sits currently at the moment, which is enticing and exciting, but maybe risky, like Kyle mentioned with the bust factor. So for me, it's gonna be interesting, but I for that reason I don't see him going top 5. But
no.
He could. He very well could.
Oh yeah,
and,
very much.
And he's exciting. He's exciting. He can go on the highlight reel. He'll be on the highlight reels for the years to come, and that's ultimately why he's up here. I just think as far as a complete package that is more secure and safe, I don't think he's necessarily in that bracket like my top 5 are. So for that reason, he slots in at number 8.
Yeah, I don't know how you can look yourself in the mirror and put this guy ahead of Stützle or Rossi. And a lot of people do. Yeah, it's crazy. And I get the skill, but man, you have to have some sense of security here. But yeah, so I'll move to my number 8. You've done your 8 now, right? So holy fuck, I might knock your socks off here, but you might share some thoughts on this. Number 8, 1 spot ahead of Cole Perfetti, Nicholas. Guess.
I don't want to guess because I don't want to give out my hand.
Seth Jarvis.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Now, fuck. Look at all the consensus. Look at all the rankings out there. You've got Seth Jarvis, 12 to 18. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I can get behind that. If I didn't look at the tape, if I didn't look at the video, and even a little bit of the stats, I might just say, okay, yeah, he's 15, right in the middle, average it out. The fact of the matter is, you watch Draft Dynasty, you look at all these other places, and a lot of the guys have this guy a little bit higher than other people. Advanced stats. Every time I'm looking at some guy reviewing his stats or someone else's stats, like, oh, I'm watching a video on Lucas Raymond, or I'm watching a video on Cole Perfetti. It's like, oh, the top 3 players in the draft are this, and Jarvis. And then this category, this, Jarvis, and this. It's like, oh my God, this guy just keeps popping up. Yeah. He's like this mystery. And It's like, what are we getting here? So we're getting a guy who, in the WHL versus the OHL versus the Q, is the lowest scoring league. Generally have a better defensive structure. Absolutely torched the league from January to the end of the season. I'm talking better statistically than Lafreniere, than everybody in this CHL. And this isn't just a small sample size. This is like 30 games where he went off for like 2.6 points per game. It was sick. It was insane. Relentless motor. The guy never stops. Skates like the wind. He can just dance around the zone. The hands are there. The shot is there. It's hard to say what's wrong with the guy. It's hard to say why people don't have him this high. And you've got 98 points. You've got 98 points, and I guess if you were to put together a better first half of the season, aren't you a top 10 bona fide player? Why, tell me, do you not see a Matthew Barzal type player in this guy? Matthew Barzal went like 15th overall because he had some sort of injury, but he's got the vision, he's got the skill level, raw skill. He's right up there with the best guys. Advanced stats say it. Seth Jarvis, I mean, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable at 8. I'm comfortable taking him ahead of Cole Perfetti because I think he's got skills that translate better in the skating and the tenacity. I like the guy. He's an underdog mentality. Cole Perfetti's got this, oh, I'm Cole Perfetti, I'm ranked top 5. Seth Jarvis has something to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's skilled, and he's faster. I love this guy. Like, Draft Dynasty started me on this thing, and I went into the wormhole, and I'm like, I tried to find a reason. Tell me why I should put him in the teens. Tell me why, and I'll do it. Yeah, it's a little bit small, but who fucking cares? I'm tempted to put him over Lucas Raymond for the fact of the matter. I don't see why I shouldn't, but I have him at 8 because a lot of people say Lucas Raymond is a better fit at number 7. So Seth Jarvis, really underrated guy.
I will not knock against him. I will tell you outright where I have him. I have him at number 11, which I think is on the better end of the spectrum you mentioned earlier. It is. And yeah, he leaps right off the paper. I mean, like our Draft Dynasty friend said, he was a second-ranked skater. And if you're the second best skater in the draft class, why shouldn't you be fringe top 10 at the very least? So yeah, he fits that bill. Skating is one of those tenets that I mentioned from the top. I have a lot of faith in. When he's on the ice, he's fun. He's explosive. He leaps off the tape. And I think fans are going to really like him, whatever market he goes to, because of just the fun aspect to a game. He's not like subtly good. He's flashy, fun good. Yeah. And that way he's going to be good. And it's great.
My type of guy.
It's great. Yeah, and it's great. Yes. And it's great we mentioned Marner last segment. I think this guy's a closer comparison to Marner than Raymond is. I think he's more Marner. I think he does possess that elusiveness. He's a better skater than Raymond, much better. Yeah. That's part of the reason I think he's as far as Mitch Marner today, Jarvis is closer to Marner, in my mind. And as far as creating offense, skating up and down the ice, Yeah, that's why I like him. Some people compare him to Nick Suzuki, but I think that's a low ball.
That's a low ball.
I think he's got higher upside than that, and that's why I compare more to Marner. So I got him at 11. The interview test, he passes the interview test. Humble, good responses, mature responses. Nothing too crazy, nothing too silly. Just professional interview.
He's from the prairies, which I like.
From the prairies.
I love that about players.
That's great.
Yeah, no, I see so much Barzal in him, but
yeah, that wasn't a name that leaped up to me. I was with Jarvis or Marner, but fair enough.
Barzal on the wing.
I hold Barzal to a higher regard, so
Than Marner?
Yeah.
No way.
I do.
Wow. You're in the minority, but I respect it, and I'm in the same boat too.
Just because he's unique, he's so unique.
The guy got 42 goals.
Yeah.
Like you think of these kinds of players as playmakers first and foremost. These little guys who can skate really well, pass the puck. 42 goals
on a defensive-oriented Islanders team
in the WHL. Like,
oh yeah.
What? How can you not have him at least top 12? Some people have him at 20.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
But that's number 8 there.
Okay, number 9, and this rounds out my second tier. So this, of course, being the tier of, who do we got here? Perfetti, Holt, Raymond, and this player. This guy, I had to slot him in here. I didn't know where I wanted to put him in. You're not going to like it, but I had to put him in there.
Oh.
He's at the bottom of this tier, so just bear that in mind. And I just wanted to get him out of the way so I could worry about everyone else. So
I know who this is.
This is Yaroslav Askarov.
Yeah.
And I probably have him higher than you just because the goalie in me. I know goaltenders better. The scouting, the tape, it all speaks to me a little more. And I think this is a technically perfect goaltender. I think this is a kid who from the age of 3... It was just drilled to his head. The positioning, the technical aspects of the position, everything they taught me in goalie school to do, he personifies to a 10 out of 10 extent.
Huh.
The strength of the pushes, always keeping his hands up, always being in face to face with the shooter, never being out of position, being aggressive but not too aggressive.
Right.
All these little things that really only goalie pundits get, or people who went to goalie school understand, I think would have so much more respect for this player. He has exceeded at the highest levels. We talked about, how much that draws. I read, the Pronman. He talked about how all these Russian tournaments he did great. These international ones like Holinka Gretzky, he was great. He wasn't very good at the World Juniors, but I'll give him a pass on that one just because, I don't know, it's the World Juniors. So
young, too.
Yeah, technically extremely sound, moves laterally extremely well, faces his guys head on, never out of position. That's partly to do with just his edge work in the crease. Aggressive, looks big when he pulls out of the net, hands always up. It's all the things I was taught at goalie school that he does consistently, which is crazy. Even when you're tired in the game, even when you're losing 4-1, he keeps that up, which is just amazing. And the only little downside and mystery, and it comes with these Russian players, is he signed until the year 21-22.
Okay.
So he's not playing next year. He's not playing the year after. You're not getting him till the fall of 2022 at the very least.
Yeah. So
bear that in mind, and... yeah, that's all I got for him. So that's where Askarov sits for me.
Yeah, no, I can't really add too much to that. You're the goalie expert, but I made a point to keep him in my top 10. I had him at 10. I knew I had to get him in there. I know he's a really, really good talent, perhaps the best talent they say to come across since Carey Price. I want to ask you one question. Would you rather have today, Carter Hart or Yaro Askarov in their current ages?
Yaro Askarov.
Come on, man.
He passes
Don't
the eye
fuck
test.
me around like that.
I don't. Carter Hart doesn't pass the eye test for me.
You're fucked.
I don't think he's as technically sound as Askarov. I see Askarov, and the same way Stützle looks sexy as a forward, Askarov looks sexy as a goalie. whereas Carter Hart looks a little more low-key, nonchalant, not really trying, but he's effective as hell. He just doesn't really look that engaged.
Sure.
But Askarov has that flurry element where he's always engaged and just looks good in the crease.
Yeah.
And Fleury does that to a T.
Yes. Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that justifies the top 10 pick, right? So, fair enough. Yeah, we'll move on from that. My 9 is Cole Perfetti, as you know. So you can go on with your 9 if it's a new guy.
You mean my 10?
Askarov
was 9.
He was your... Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
So you want 10?
I do. My 10 was Yaro Askarov. Yeah.
All right. So 10, this is interesting. So this now kicks off my next tier. This is tier 3.
Okay.
This guy...
Fuck, I want to guess.
This guy's probably the biggest riser in my list of every player on the list. He's the biggest riser.
Okay.
I'm the most high on this player, whereas other guys may not be as high on him.
Okay.
I learned a lot about this kid in the most recent weeks, and he's really grown on me. And this is a guy who I would be ecstatic to have if I'm a team outside of the top 10. So for me, number 10, I'm going with Dylan Holloway.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah. Number 10.
Whoa!
He makes 10 on my list.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
what a blow
Yeah.
to the psyche. Jesus fuck. Wow.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, are you hearing this?
I love this player. He might be my favorite player in the whole draft.
Whoa.
Maybe he is. And
I like that.
And I like this. I got credit to Scott Wheeler. He did a very good scouting report on him with plenty of clips. And that's why I'm going to be able to give you guys this analysis right here. So I'm going to start off. Big pillar for me is skating. He is a good-looking skater.
Sexy.
He is a poor man's Tim Stützle on skates. I'd say he's almost as good a skater as Stützle, maybe just slightly under, which for outside of the top 10 value, I think is wonderful. I also think he has this physical element that Tim Stützle doesn't have. He not only can be this great offensive player on the perimeter, but he can also do it down low, and he likes to get his nose dirty. He can make plays. He can get to the front of the net. He can beat guys along the board. He's an amazing forechecker, strong on the puck, board battles, winning them left, right, and center. And that ultimately means he can be a top 6 guy. He can be the skilled guy who has the playmaking and the skating ability of a Stützle. But then he can also be your dirty work guy who wins battles along the boards, is in front of the net, can be a guy like a Zach Hyman supporting role on a first line. And it's this Swiss Army knife dimension to him that's grown on me. So as Kyle runs frantically from the bathroom, I was just telling these guys that, to me, he is that multi-dimensional Stützle that I wanted. So I said Stützle doesn't like getting his nose dirty. Well, Dylan Holloway loves to get his nose dirty. This guy wins battles along the boards like no one else does. Forechecking, tenacious, Zach Hyman-like forechecker. He has the skill and the speed of a top 6 player, but also the grinded out element, physical, gritty element of a Zach Hyman guy who can be a supporting member on the first line or a third line leading dog. And that's what makes him the ultimate Swiss Army knife of this draft, in my opinion. And is ultimately why I have such high praise for him. I like he can just do so much. He can be the first man in on a forecheck, but he could also be the guy leading your break-in and setting up your power play. So to me, he played in the NCAA this year. He decided to move up into that league a year earlier, which shows the body's already mature. He's already built. He's already got the size of a guy who can play in the NHL. As Draft Dynasty said, he could play in the NHL next year. That wouldn't surprise many people. He's got the size. He's got the skating. He's got the tenacity. He's got the work ethic. He clicks every single box that I want in those pillars I mentioned. The speed, the puck skills, the character, the competitiveness, the physical element. They're all crossed, which no other player thus far in this top 10 has had. Laugh had it. No other player than Laugh had all 5 of those crossed. And that's why he is a top 10 draft pick for me.
I am so in love with the fact that you put him in your top 10. I want to love this player so much. Like, this is such a... like, even if he turns out to be a Josh Anderson, I love this guy. Now, I'll be honest, I have him at 19.
Whoa.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a discrepancy there, and it's all because of one guy. His name's Will Scouch. If you've ever heard of Scouching,
Never heard of him.
really respected guy on the net, on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I echo everything you said. I think I reached out to you earlier and I said, hey, if you want the next Logan Couture, look at this guy. But that was a couple months ago, and I love that what he brings. He brings the talent mixed with that kind of raw dog tenacity, which is, it's such a great talent. I want to say that he had a hard time adjusting to the NCAA level.
Which is fine.
And I want to believe that, but what worries me is what if he's just not, what if the talent doesn't... I can't figure out why it doesn't all click, because the talent should equate to, more production, but it just didn't this year. And it makes me think, and it's a really loosey-goosey term, but what if he doesn't have that offensive instinct, that killer mentality, that finish the play kind of drive?
It's a tougher league. He played in the toughest league of any league you could have played in this year.
Disagree. SHL.
Okay, fine.
DL
SHL.
maybe.
No,
DL's
DL.
lower. Yeah.
No, not the German league. Give me a break.
Close.
We
it's
know
close.
point production in the NCAA is extremely hard. Okay, when Jack Eichel was there, he was like point per game, and that was considered really, really good.
That was hard.
Okay. Yeah. He's also playing behind Cole Caulfield and Alex Turcotte, who've already been drafted, who are developmentally years ahead of him.
Sometimes he played with them, though.
I know, but he still is not going to be on like even strength. Like on the power play, sure, but even strength, he's not going to necessarily get more minutes than those guys.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm going to give him the pass on that one. And I think if he played in like a CHL league, I would have really liked to see his production.
I would love, because that would be more apples to apples.
So like if he had he decided to play in the WHL, that would have been really neat. But we didn't get that. And I'm just going off the tape and what I see the personal qualities. So I would be willing to take the chance on him just out of those elements I mentioned.
And I sincerely, with the bottom of my heart, think you're right. I think he bottoms out as a third liner, and I think he could be a top liner. Yeah. So he got 17 points in 35 games, which is very respectable. I see a really cool connection. Comparable-wise is a Brady Tkachuk, and if I could just fucking open this up, Brady Tkachuk's draft year, he had 31 points in 40 games. So he's below the Brady Tkachuk level. And Tkachuk, he got 44 points in 71 games last year with the Sens. So, I mean... I
think he's more nifty and better playmaker and a better skater than Tkachuk. He's a sexier player than Tkachuk. I get where you're going with the physicality and the hard nose element.
Yeah.
But I think he's a better skater. I called him a poor man's Stutzel, and I stand by that.
And I hope you're right. It's just the production scared me off, and I hope it doesn't scare too many people off.
I'm curious next season what he's going to do. Don't go to the NHL. Don't rush.
I mean,
stay another year, and let's see what you give, kid.
To your credit, look at Makar. He had a kind of a rough first year in the NCAA from the AJ, right? So it's just Dylan Holloway. Maybe he had a rough year, and next year he'll torch it.
Maybe he should have done what Newhook did: play in the BCHL and then play in the NCAA. And now you see Newhook; he's going to win the best player.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, he had a great year. Now Holloway did it earlier than anyone else, but he is pretty old too. He's a September. He's like one of the oldest guys. So yeah, there's a lot going for him, and it's all traits that we love. But there's some things going against him. Why I had him at 19, but honestly, if Montreal would have taken him at they traded up and got him at 11, I'd be thrilled. What are we at? 10? 11?
I think we're at 11. I don't know. You have to do your 10?
My 10's Askarov, so we talked about him. This is a guy, this is tough. This is a very divisive guy by many respects, mostly because of Craig Button. It's center/winger Jack Quinn at number 11. Tough player to rank. His 50 goals in the OHL this year, it just puts him in crazy elite company. It's very, very rare that a player can get 50 goals CHL in his draft year. Almost always that points to a good quality goal scorer in the NHL level. That being said, the OHL was a little bit weak this year. From what I've read, it was kind of open. It was kind of loosey-goosey. So every time I look at an OHL draft, like stat line, I kind of knock it down by a little bit. Just a little bit. Next thing is he played on the Ottawa 67s. They're a fantastic team, perhaps one of the best in the CHL. He played on the second line behind Marco Rossi's line. They didn't play together, 5-on-5. So that being said, he faced second pairing defensemen. That's definitely something to note. Now, that being said, he took advantage of that. He got a league CHL leading, CHL, not just OHL, 30-plus goals at even strength. So, yes, he played on the second line. Yes, he played on, second pairing defensemen. But he absolutely took advantage of that and crushed even strength goal scoring. Not just a power play goal scorer. He's not just a fire from the fucking OV spot kind of guy. He's far and away the best even strength goal scorer in the draft. Didn't start working out until he was 16. Something that struck me as this guy is like he played like AA recently. Like I'm talking like 14 or 15. So if you just started really taking this seriously at 16, you score 50 in your draft year, your trajectory to me is right up in the sky. He is one of the oldest players in the draft, but that doesn't bother me too much because of what I just said. And he's one of those goal scorers who's not just a sniper, but he can get dirty. He can get in and around the net. He can dangle the goalie. He's got a nice set of mitts on him. And whereas Holtz is more of a sniper kind of guy, Jack Quinn he can snipe, maybe not as good as Holtz, but he can finish in any manner of ways. And there's a sleeping two-way player there too. It's underrated part of his game, but it's definitely there. And why have him at 11? He's going to be a 30-goal scorer. I just can't see how he couldn't be, whether it mostly comes from the power play or whatever. It's good value at 11. He's going to put up 30 goals in the prime of his career.
Good value at 11, yes. But I have Jack Quinn at number 18.
Oh,
so there's that difference. We had the Holloway at 19 and I had at 10, and here we go.
That's getting interesting.
So to me, Jack Quinn is the quote-unquote Mike Babcock good pro player. That's what he is. He's a good pro. I watch him play. He's a good pro. Okay? The reason I say that, he's already got the build of kind of a guy who can play in the NHL. He's not undersized. He just looks good. Looks strong. Looks like an NHL player.
Yeah.
He's got a scoring instinct. He can score from the perimeter because of his quick release and can be a power play specialist in that respect. But he can also score in front of the net. He can screen a goalie, park his rear in front of the net, and tuck in some ugly ones too. Get physical. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's that kind of good pro quality. He can contribute all ends of the ice. The hockey sense is exquisite. We saw that in that, he was able to put up those points in Ottawa despite playing on a different line than Marco Rossi. A lot of people just assume he got the point production with Rossi.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the case, given he was on a different line. And I really like, his board work. He can be physical. He can work on the boards. Again, all around, checks a lot of the boxes that I mentioned with Holloway. Just doesn't have the skating ability, the offensive upside that I think Holloway has. So, he's a safe, good pick. Yeah. I think he's destined to go in the mid-teens in that first round. And I don't see the team picking him going wrong. I like the draft dynasty comparison of TJ Oshie. I think that's very, very apt. And I'm going to stick with that one. So, interview, Very pro interview, as you'd
Yeah.
expect. Nothing
Dry.
crazy, just dry, to the point, cliche, bang, done.
Yeah. I wish he had a better interview. Like I want to know more about this kid. Like, what the fuck were you doing 2 years ago?
It's
Why
great,
why
yeah.
weren't
It's
you
a good
like
question.
why weren't you focusing on hockey? It's crazy.
It's a great question.
But yeah, and a good size on him too, about 6 foot. But yeah, I like the guy. So you're 11.
11, I had Seth Jarvis, as
Okay.
I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So there's where he slides.
Very
in.
fair spot. Yeah.
And then at number 12, speaking of a great interview,
Oh boy.
Dawson Murphy.
Oh, I'm so happy. Okay, yeah.
The newfie of the draft
Fucking awesome.
slides in at Nick's number 12.
What a great interview, right?
Fantastic interview. We saw him that early. I saw that at the World Juniors. I immediately identified that. It's persisted to this date. Seems like a fun-loving character who has a childish exuberance to go with it. Just always has a smile on his face, and I commend him for that. I think he was raised in a good Newfie family, and I think he's going to continue to strive by that example in the NHL. So the character's great. We got into that already. He had a great point total for the Q, good production. I just really like his style. It's different than all the players in the draft. He's taller. He's got a longer reach. He based on that, he relies on his good hands, and so he's allowed to create a lot of offense by himself. We saw him being very apt defensively, so he could intercept the puck and create shorthanded breakaways for himself. We saw a lot of that in those clips. Draft Dynasty prepared. He can play on both ends of the ice, can be a 200-foot player, always puts in the effort, works extremely hard, puts in the work every single shift. A very good hockey sense, like I said, positionally aware. You can't score shorthanded goals or can't get breakaways if you're not in the first great positioning in the first place. He is in that respect, and he again, like Quinn, he's a good pro. Like, he just has that quality.
Right.
I could see him excelling at the NHL level, mid-teens. I could see him absolutely going in that part of the draft. And he said it himself. He wants to be Patrice Bergeron, and he literally hung that jersey in his wall in his bedroom, which is great. And
Good
I
role
think
model.
and anyone who wants to be that guy and has him as their role model gets an applaud for me. So Dawson Mercer, number 12.
Such an interesting guy for me, scouting wise. You had him at 12. I had him at 13. So we're very, very close on this player. Newfie, I'd want to jump all over him. As soon as I found out he was a Newfie, I'd be like, okay, how do I start loving this guy? I like his skill set. I like, he's 6 foot. He's got really, really crazy. Sometimes he's got the craziest hands. Like, he pulls off such silky moves.
Well, it's the reach,
Yeah, Draft Donnie said he could stick handle in a phone booth.
Yeah.
I think that's what he said there. The shot's there. The skill is there. The motor and the determination is certainly there. He's got one of the best kind of bulldog mentality kind of things going on. And he made the World Junior team as a draft year player.
Kudos.
Though he
And
didn't
played it,
have the greatest
Yeah.
stat line. To be there, to make it, he did something right. Whether it was his on-ice play or his off-ice work ethic or whatever, you can't take that away from him. He did really, really well in Drummondville with 42 points in 26 games. Crazy stat line. Slowed down a little bit in Chicoutimi when he got traded, but 18 points in 16, new team. We'll let that slide. For whatever reason, Nick, whenever I've seen him, I saw him all camp at the World Junior Camp. We saw him at the Top Prospects game, and I think I saw him one other time. But I've always come away thinking, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, I've always been kind of like, man, I want more. I want more from him. I'm not seeing that smart player. Whenever I see him live in person, I always kind of come back on my affection for him. I still really like the player. The skill set is certainly there. I see an Eberle type from this guy, like maybe a little bit more of a larger Eberle. Eberle's like 5'10". This guy's 6 foot. He's got that kind of soft hands mentality. I wouldn't say he's overly physical, but he's definitely very determined. Better defensively than Eberle for sure, but I see him as a bona fide, very solid second line winger. I don't know if he can make that top line. Top power play, yes, but who knows? He's got the work ethic to prove me wrong and make that first line. But I really like him. I wish I liked him more, but the live viewings have set me back just a little bit.
Well said.
My 12. I ended up liking this guy a lot more than I wished. It's the exact opposite. I want to love Dawson, and I don't want to like this guy, but I do. It's Jake Sanderson.
Wow.
So I didn't really do a lot of research into this guy, but all of a sudden he started popping up in people's top 10s. I was like, what's going on here? Obviously, this guy's going in the top 10. Let's not kid ourselves. NHL teams are going to want defensemen. There's not a whole lot of great ones in this draft after Drysdale and maybe this guy. He's got captain experience. I really like that. He's worn the C. NHL bloodlines, that matters to me as well. I think that with his physical tool set, he's the best shutdown D in the draft. Long reach, good rangy skating. He's not dynamic like Drysdale, but he's long, rangy, long fluid stride, not explosive, not quick laterally, nothing like that. He's a little bit larger to have that. Overall, he's pretty intelligent too. He's very, very skinny. Like when I watch his interviews, this guy looks like a twig. So I'm like, man, this guy lays body. He's good defensively. What if he had another 20 pounds on him? And then you got a very solid package. So I rank him. Probably he's going to go top 10. I have him at 12. He's definitely no lower than a top 4 defenseman. I think he's got a little bit of offensive potential there, but it's not crazy. If it was something tangible that I could really latch onto, he'd be solid in my top 10. But he's not going to be on your top power play. He's not going to run a number 1 unit. He's pretty young. He's got a decent shot. He's going to be a great second unit guy. It's not a fair comparison, but I see him as a little bit of an upgraded Jeff Petrie, if that makes sense. Decent skater, decent shot, solid physically, and he's just a good defenseman. You want him on your team, you know?
It's great timing, Kyle, because my number 13 is Jake Sanderson.
Hey, there you go.
To me, you mentioned the Petrie comparison. But I'm going to go a notch higher and compare him to a guy who's really blossoming of late. Sorry, as I finish this pizza.
Fucking slob.
And that's Jacob Slavin.
No, you can't go there.
I think this guy fits Jacob Slavin to a T. And the reason I say that is Jacob Slavin does not contribute a lot on the offensive side of the ice, but boy, oh boy, does he contribute on the defensive side of the ice. And the guys just look similar. Slavin is a big guy. He's tall. Same with this guy. I think if he puts on those 20 pounds you're alluding to, he will be Jake Slavin.
Wow.
He has an extremely high hockey IQ, just like Jake Slavin does. He finishes his plays. He gets ahead of guys. He wins board battles. He's got a good stick, a long stick, which his physical build lets him have.
Mm-hmm.
The offense, it's kind of average, could use some work. That's why he's obviously not up there with Drysdale. But I think because his skating's the foundation of his game, there's a lot of upside there, and he could potentially contribute more on the offensive end if he's coached correctly. Right. So, he's got a good-looking stride. He passes the eye test skating-wise. My number one thing with him is his gap play. It's really elite. He doesn't really give a lot of guys a lot of room. He just looks solid when he's tracking guys, skating backwards. He's aggressive at the line, isn't afraid to throw the body. He checks all the boxes of a top 4 defenseman, and a guy who's just going to be extremely reliable, and a guy I can count on each and every night. So I have no gripes putting Jake Sanderson as my 13th pick.
Fuck, imagine he turns out to be a Slavin.
I think he can be. I see no reason why he can't be.
If people see him as that kind of guy, he's going top 6. Like, there's no like I would grab a Slavin at a 6. If you told me this guy's Slavin, I'd go, okay, 5. Give me him at 5. Solid. I want this guy. Yeah, that's crazy. But I see it. I definitely see it. It fits the mold. But yeah, let's. What are we at? 13. So my 13 was Mercer. Your 13 was Sanderson. So we're at 14. 14. Yeah, it was just a matter of time before this guy hit the list. Craig Button, where you at? Hendrix Lapierre. Let the crowd roar. Fuck, man, this sucks. This really sucks for this guy. This guy should be in the top 10 times out of 10. At that Hlinka Gretzky earlier, I mean, him and fucking Perfetti were all world, while Byfield looked like a shoemaker. Like, this guy was... He was running the show, and this guy was Q Rookie of the Year, you know, hockey IQ off the charts, playmaker. He had Backstrom written all over him. The injury history finally caught up to him, and good skater too, size, all that. The injury history finally caught up to him. We've thought it was a concussion thing, but I think it might be better, Nick, that it is actually a spinal thing. As bad as that sounds, they've located the root of the problem. It's a spinal thing. Hopefully he can get some sort of physio chiros shit going on where it doesn't become as much of a chronic issue, because, man, I could see some guys just being, this guy don't want to touch in the first round. A lot of guys have him in the second round, if you can believe that. A guy of his talent level, but I mean, let's be honest. He started out a bit slow. I saw some interviews. He said that he was very nervous draft year, that kind of thing. But yeah, I can let that slide for a guy of his talent level. I mean, he sees the ice, playmaking wise, perhaps at a top 3 level in the draft. Lafreniere, maybe Perfetti, Raymond, Lapierre, in that range. I mean, I think this guy is really, really talented. Button had him at 3. Maybe, I think he even had him at 2, right in the early season.
Oh, yeah, in the early goings.
This guy is, it's hard. It's so hard because he hasn't played for months, but I'm willing to take a roll of the dice. I like my Quebec players. I like my hockey IQ kind of guys. I have him at 14, and I think he's going to pull through for us.
All right, I found a way to snuck him into the teens. I got him at 19.
Okay.
Again, just because I haven't been able to watch him very much, the injuries persist. I don't really... You know him better than I do because you're more high on him. So I'd rather treat my little segment of him as more of just asking you a couple things.
Yeah.
There's been gripes that, yes, he can play make. Yes, he's got the vision. But can he finish? Can this guy score goals at the NHL level?
You know what? I don't think he's ever going to be a sniper. I don't think his shot is a good weapon of his. But like a lot of not goal scorers, but guys that can finish, he's good around. He can be good around the net. I could see him developing in that part of the game where you can finish off, you know, tic-tac-toe plays and find loose pucks in and around the goalie, use his brain to put pucks in the... I mean, look at Crosby. Crosby doesn't often snipe ones from, like, the top of the circles or the dots or anything like that. He's often scoring his goals in and around the net because he's so smart. I mean, Crosby can get 40 goals in a year, and maybe 7 of them are... Oh my God, that was a fucking Ovechkin-type snipe, you know? So he's got that kind of scoring ability. Don't get me wrong, I don't see him going much past 20 goals. He's not going to be a goal scorer, but a 20-goal, 50-assist kind of player, I could see that. Yeah.
Is he better or worse potential than Nick Backstrom?
I'd say, oh man, you've really got me here. Because I'm trying to isolate Nick Backstrom from Ovechkin, because I know a lot of Nick Backstrom's point totals are because he's feeding the best goal scorer we've ever seen. Oh fuck. I think he's a little bit below.
Okay.
Because I think Backstrom's got some really...
Yeah.
Just the passing quality.
That was just the one guy I couldn't help compare him to because the scoring isn't necessarily there, but he can play make to a T. The vision's there. So that's just the name I pulled out of my hat and I wanted to ask you about. But if he's a poor man Backstrom and I'm getting a poor man Backstrom at 19, then I'll take it.
I don't see him as a number one center.
Yeah.
I see him as a smart, cerebral second line center. Yeah. Okay. And a guy who could, again, he is a guy also who really prides himself two-way game. A lot of people compare him to a Taves Bergeron. I know they're so cliche.
Can he be like O'Reilly?
He can be like O'Reilly. Yeah, because O'Reilly, he doesn't score too much. He could be like a O'Reilly,
especially
Backstrom
goals
mix.
Wise. O'Reilly gets more assists than goals.
Yeah. But again, that's just, I think he's a good kid with a good work ethic, prides himself on his two-way game. He could develop that for sure. Yeah.
Okay. My 14, and this is a guy who, speaking of O'Reilly, when asked who his comparable is, said it was Ryan O'Reilly. Do you want to guess who this player is?
Give me 1 sec. Let me just look at here. Ryan O'Reilly. God damn.
He said, Ryan O'Reilly.
Really?
That's my comparison.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I have no idea.
Connor Zary.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he compared himself to
O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't see that.
So I got Zary at 14. And this comes, and he rounds out this tier I'm currently on.
Okay.
This fourth tier, or whatever tier I'm on. Yeah, I mean, to me, just because I had that tier grouped, and I didn't necessarily find like single things with him I loved that much, so I kind of just put him at the bottom of the tier. And that's ultimately because he does a bunch of things like good.
Yes.
But he doesn't necessarily do one thing really great.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the hands are there, good edge work, competitive, in your face, checks a lot of the boxes.
Yeah.
In fact, I went so far, and don't be insulted by this, I went so far as to say if I had a Kyle Nice on the ice player comparable, it's Connor Zary.
I don't know.
You don't do one thing like an elite player.
Right.
But you do a bunch of you do everything well. Good.
That's fair.
And that's why I had you as you are Connor Zary. And the interview was solid, thoughtful guy. And the only thing I didn't like, and this has no relation to you, is when I was watching the Draft Dynasty clips, there was this one, I timestamped this for you at 4:10 of the video. There's this clip of him scoring 3 minutes into a game to make it 1-0 for his team. And the second he scores, he does the Timu Solani thing.
No!
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
No!
What are these WHL players smoking?
Oh
it's
my
1-0 with 17 minutes left in the first period, and he's already, and it was a shitty goal, like just a rebound, like close to the net. He goes gun. Are you kidding me?
Oh my god!
It was sad. But I had him buried in my rankings after I saw that, and then I read about him some more. I listened to the interview, and I brought him up. So the reason he's in the mid-teens shortly, because I know we got to be quick now, getting into our bottom end of our 15.
You're right.
He does a bunch of things well. Doesn't necessarily do one thing extremely well. But as long as you're good, as long as you're like 4 out of 5 and like a bunch of things, you're good enough to be 14th. So Connor Zary.
Now, I perfectly reflect that exactly. I have him at 23. And that's solely for the fact that the higher end ceiling I don't see. Like a lot of these guys I have ahead of him, they could be, even if it's a really off chance, they could be right up there. I don't think he has a shot in hell at being a first-line player.
No.
Second-line player, yeah, I could see that. Third-line player, likely. But yeah, that's all. And no knock against that. That's very respectable. So, yeah, like you said, 4 out of 5 at most things. And I think he's a good kid, too.
safe pick.
Very safe.
Your owner's not going to approach you the next day and go, "Why the hell did you choose him?"
Exactly. Mid to
If
late
you want to keep your
round.
job and you're picking 16th, take him.
Exactly. Well said. That was your 14?
Yeah.
So my 15 is going to be a little bit off the board.
Okay. 15 now?
15.
So do we start going into shotgun approach now? Because it's 15? You said we're going to emphasize after this one?
Right after this guy, yeah.
Shotgun approach.
Yeah, okay. So 15. I know we're getting a little
Yeah.
long in the tooth here. So Tyson Forster.
Ooh.
At 15.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. He
the star of the CHL top prospects game, Tyson Forster.
Oh, come on. Pierre Dorion was
name.
there. No, it's a great name, first of all. The guy, he scores big boy goals. He's got a wicked shot, loves to load up the Ovi spot. You know, he's that one-time. Some guy said he has the best one-timer in the draft. And I can actually get behind that. He's got a better one-timer than Alex Holtz. Wow. He had the most power play goals in the entire CHL with 18. He's got a heavy shot. At the very, very least, the worst he can be is a top power play goal scorer. Think Mike Hoffman. It reminds me a lot of Mike Hoffman.
High shooting rate.
High shooting rate, yeah. And he doesn't do that much else. But if he's on the power play, you know they're trying to find Mike. There's a little bit of a power forward in there too. He's about 6 and change with 190 pounds kind of thing. Heavy accurate shot. Unlike Quinn, he doesn't have as good offensive instincts. So Quinn can score in a variety of ways. If Forster's not scoring on that one-timer and those snipes, you're not seeing him get a whole lot of garbage goals. Hopefully he can develop that. If he can develop that kind of smarts in and around the net, the hard-nosed mentality, I see a 30-goal scorer. That's why I have him at 15 is because of that potential. Not a great skater. You've got to improve that. Like, he's a little bit heavy-footed. Like, he's kind of skating in mud a little bit. But the hands are there. When I watch his highlights, I see a fluid, I see a skilled, like this guy's got that talent kind of thing. So that's why I see him at 15 for that potential.
So it's funny you mentioned maybe not the best skater, but pretty good hands, fluid.
Yeah. My
comparison, and you're not going to like this, just because I see him and he doesn't pass the eye test for me.
Don't say Dante.
No. For me, on the ice, the guy looks like Raph Lavoie.
No,
yeah, I don't like that at all.
He's better than Lavoie.
It's an exaggerated.
I get it.
Exaggeration.
I get it.
Subtly, he's a Raph Lavoie.
I get it.
And for that reason, I had him outside of my top 30.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even have him here. So
wow.
I went far enough to maybe squeeze him in. That's partly why I have a scouting report on him.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't have him in my 30. He just jumped out. I could probably put him 29 and 30 because I don't really know those guys that I have there that well. I'm not that passionate about that take.
Right.
But, yeah, for me, like I said from the start, I value speed, hockey sense, and physicality. And, yes, this guy's got the shot, but maybe lacks in those first ones I mentioned.
Yeah.
So,
no, fair.
For that reason, just my philosophy doesn't quite make the cut.
And this is where we get into Candyland, right? Where the guys all have very much red flags after now, right? So just it is what it is. We'll get going.
So this is my 15. I think fair to say we go shotgun approach now.
Yep.
To the point. 15th. John Mysak.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I just like this guy's attitude on the ice. He skates and plays like he just wants to score on every shift. He's got explosive straightaway speed. He looks like a good skater, and he passes that eye test that I look for. Creative passing ability, can not just create offense for himself, but can also help others at the same time. But then doesn't get too caught up front. He plays good deep, back checks. He's aggressive. My comparable for him is two comparables. My comparable was like an Ilya Mikheyev. Okay. So like he's really rangy and like he can skate good straightaway speed and can create offense and play D and I think Mikheyev has that. But then Draft Dynasty compared him to Jaden Schwartz. Schwartz, of course, being one of my favorite players, and that, of course, spoke to me. So all those things make him number 15 for me. No interview to speak of. He does not. He does not speak English.
Oh,
those guys get a pass.
I see.
The Russians, the Finns, who do not speak English, they get a pass.
Okay. So I had him at 21. Really quickly here, good two-way player, all-arounder. He's the Swiss Army knife. He can do pretty much anything you want him to do. Yeah, just very responsible. My NHL player comparable. I just thought of it now. Very poor man's Sean Couturier. Not flashy, but he can plug him in anywhere. Penalty kill, power play. Not going to do it amazing, although because he's just poor man's. I fucking love Sean Couturier. But Jan Mysak. Yeah. Okay. So 16. Yep. Oh, I don't like this one. Yeah, no, I like this one a lot. My 16 is Rodion Amirov.
Yep.
Rodion Amirov. Something stuck out with this guy. I don't know too much about him, but this trait I really, really like. Like Mysak, he's very well-rounded all around. He's a Russian forward, which
begrudgingly Kyle throws him in.
But this killed me. This killed me. One scout said, quote, "You have to kill him to get the puck off of him." And I was like,
"That's awesome."
I was like, 16. He's my 16. A bulldog with the puck. That kind of tenacity mixed with his overall polished game makes me very excited. He kind of reminds me of a Podkolzin, actually, from years past. Like Podkolzin, he's going to be a fan favorite. A little bit of that Gallagher effect. So that's what puts him at 16.
Yep, and I've got him at 22. And for me, this is my second Scott Wheeler quote of the evening.
Getty.
Amirov bounced around between the pros and junior level all season. He was excellent versus his peers at the junior level, and versus men he showed flashes, including in a brief appearance late with Russia's national team. Amirov is easily to spot on the ice when he has the puck because he's very quick and skilled. He has quick twitch hands and can inside-out defenders while skating at full speed. He can set up and finish plays well. He flashes high-end playmaking and shooting ability, but neither consistently. His game is more about his pure skill and driving play forward with a ton of clean entries. His speed isn't amazing, more just good, but his edges and cutbacks are excellent. Amirov has slight frame, which led to struggles versus men who could knock him down off pucks. But he does work hard, and when he puts on muscle, I could see him get inside easier. This was Podkolzin on him. He's a smart player with soft hands and good speed. He's a non-standard player in terms of his decision-making. He's a very creative guy. So all of that said, I mean, just the upside, right? Like the skill, the fact he can hang on to the puck, you're going to have to kill him for it. The potential offensive upside, the creativity, not a lot of guys had that. It's been a theme throughout our show this evening, and that's why he's in my first round, number 22.
Fun fact, that guy we were listening to on the podcast, the Oil Knight.
He said he's better than Podkolzin, right?
He's had him in the top 10.
Yeah. There you go.
Crazy. That I'm not as bold as that, but 17.
No, I got to do 16.
Oh, fuck, sorry.
Jumping the gun.
Yeah.
Number 16 for me, a Gord Miller favorite.
Oh, boy.
Caden Gooley from the Prince Albert Raiders.
Wow, we're close on this one.
So the reason I like this guy, and I like what Draft Dynasty brought up, was the Prince Albert Raiders. If I could own Game Center and watch a team the whole year, it would be the Prince Albert Raiders. Yeah. Even strength, they let 1.5 goals against per game. They are the St. Louis Blues of the CHL.
Right.
And this guy was their number one D.
Yep.
He played all the toughest minutes, and he led that D-core. My comparable for him is Colton Parayko. He's big,
so good.
tall, but smooth skating at the same time, which you don't get a lot of the times. When they're big and tall, they're often not smooth skating, but this guy does it. And I think that's like a diamond in the rough. To get a tall, physical guy who can also be a smooth skater, similar to his brother who's currently in the NHL,
right?
That to me is someone you can't pass up on. And again, one of those players, for a lot of guys, might be in their 20 range. Some I've even seen in the 30. but he'll probably go in the teens just because of the demand for offense, right? Or defense. He's another one of those guys with great skating, looks great with the backward crossovers.
Yeah.
Love seeing that. He can walk the line.
Johnny Cash, baby!
Second time I'm going to say that tonight.
Woo!
Yeah, I think he can defend, and he looks good doing it. The only thing he needs to improve on, he's got to be smarter with the puck. He's got to show more offensive step to his game.
Yeah.
He's got to make the right plays. He's got to make the right breakout passes. Just in this new NHL, as a D-man to exist, you need to help out offensively to some extent.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to work on that. He didn't look too good in those Draft Dynasty clips. I need to see him improve. So, yeah. And as an interviewer, passes the test. He's like a 35-year-old man. John Tavares answers.
Okay,
Mature, quick. Yeah.
Gotcha. I had him at 18, so not far behind you. Very kind of like breathing down the neck of a Jake Sanderson. I see them as quite similar guys. Skating is the hallmark. There is a slight spark of offense there that I hope comes out, but every so often he'll kind of go, "Whoa, I didn't know he had that kind of shit hidden away." Really like this guy. I love the Colton Parayko comparison. Thanks for bringing that up.
That's Gordon Miller.
Gordon Miller, he said that. Oh, wow, Gordon needs to start scouting a little bit. God, what's he doing? So I love Caden Gooley, and hey, he's going top 15. You know he is because he's a defenseman and he's got size. Bottoms out at a top 4. Like the worst you're getting is a top 4, and that's crazy valuable. So, hey, I have him at 18. Perfect. 17.
17 for me. Noel Gunler. This is who Draft Dynasty. He called him the Arthur Kaliev of the draft.
Fair.
Which I thought was very fitting. So this guy, what I mean by that, for you guys who aren't too familiar with Kaliev, you non-Kings fans, this is a guy who has this great offensive upside, has this great release. His quick release snapshots look amazing, and he's opportunistic. He's at the right place at the right time. He can put it behind the net in those moments. He's a pure goal scorer, and in that respect, he can be Kaliev. The knock on him is his work ethic at points. He kind of looks out of the play when he's not necessarily given the greatest chance to score, and he's going to need to improve on that. But other than that, he's a pretty good-looking skater. I wouldn't say he's in the great tier, but he's in the high end of the good tier. And I like the Brock Besser comparison that Draft Dynasty threw around. He's kind of got the similar build, can shoot it like the best of them, and yeah, solid. I think another one of those players, the upside is a lot higher than where he is currently.
Fair.
And you're drafting him for upside. So let's say you're picking 21st and all those marquee guys have gone. I think you're you may as well run the risk and swing a home run and go for this guy.
Fair enough. I have him at 26. Mm-hmm. Like you said, supremely skilled, great release. Character issues. He's actually been left off of Team Sweden. Like that just kills me. And some people have him in their top 10, Nick. That's what puts him down for probably both of us, and for a lot of people. He reminds me of an Owen Tippett. Great shot, great skills, not elite hockey sense. He doesn't have that kind of he's not going to be at the right place at the right time all the time kind of thing. If he had that hockey sense, man, this guy is talent-wise, he's right up there. But the character scares me, so that's Noel Gunler. So my 17. Yep. Anton Lundell. I had him lower, brought him up, dropped him down. What a divisive character. Lots of guys have him in their top 10, simply because he's that two-way threat. Good offensive numbers in the Liga, like comparable to really good quality guys that we see in the NHL today. Labeled as a two-way dynamo, gonna defensively be very responsible. You just skate like a piece of shit, don't you? Like, I've heard someone say he's the worst skater in the first round. And I don't know, maybe he is. Like, he's definitely bottom third, and that's why he's 17. Like, if you're going to be a two-way guy, you have to be able to keep up with the guys you're defending, which is why I can't have him in that 12 range, which I want him there. A lot of guys are going to get like, oh, this guy's a big center iceman with two-way prominence. They're going to jump on that, but the skating scares me, so 17.
Yeah, for me, I had him at 27.
Yeah.
He's probably going more in the high end than the low end if you look at consensus lists.
Yep.
To me, all I have written is two things. To me, he's the dying breed of the NHL. He's a guy who would have slotted in well with like the LA Kings like 10 years ago. But he's just not. He doesn't fit the mold.
Fair,
he doesn't
man.
fit the mold of today's NHL players. So he's the dying breed, the dying horse of today's NHL, and that's why I had him slip. And for me, best case scenario, like if he gets it together, he's got a decent shot. I'll give him that. And if he can just improve the other elements of game enough, to me, the comparison is like a Timo Meier. Someone, you're not flashy, you don't skate extremely well, but you can, best case scenario, you can put up 30 goals and that's that, and you're getting a 30-goal scorer at 22 or 23, and that's fine. So that's my best case scenario. No interview on him, does not speak English.
Wow. I see him as like a fixed ceiling kind of guy, third line center. Okay. That's it. Which is like
I said, that's the optimistic comparison, right? Top 6, put up there.
Yeah. So number 18, that's my Caden Gooley, which we've talked about. What's your 18?
18 was Quinn for me.
Okay, yeah. So 19, that's my Dylan Holloway.
Okay, 19, I had Lapierre.
Okay, moving on to 20. I had this is a good one. I have Maverick Bourque.
Mm-hmm.
So classic French Canadian, like stereotypical, fits the mold. Excellent skill set, crazy nice soft hands like a Jonathan Drouin. But he's streaky, he's inconsistent, he's poor defensively, and he's soft. That sounds so bad, doesn't it? Like everything you wanted to see in a dynamic offensive player, but he can score and make plays. Massive step in improvement from last year. That's good. So the trajectory is pretty solid. Doesn't play with a ton of pace. When I watch his highlights, I see him not moving his feet. Like whenever he gets either a primary assist or a goal, his feet are kind of standing still. He doesn't have that I'm moving, I'm in the rush, and I'm scoring kind of thing. I don't like that in terms of his translation to the NHL. I want to see him be able to do both. Quinton Byfield prides himself on scoring on the rush. That's great. This guy prides himself on scoring in the zone. That's totally different. Many times, I said that. When the game gets quicker in the NHL level, I do question his ability to keep up, and especially when he's relying on fancy plays. A lot of the times I'll watch him, he'll kind of wait, try to make fancy play. And sometimes it works, and it's great. But not all the time, and he's an average skater. I think he's a good lock for 20 in my mind with the skill.
For me, he was at 23, so not too far behind you.
Yeah.
I'll be brief here. He's obviously tiny, 5'10", 165. The way he's set up in his skill set, the shot, he kind of caught me as kind of the Cole Caulfield of the draft. Just stocky, short, power play presence, shot, that kind of build.
Right.
And then I enjoyed watching the clips on Draft Dynasty of just his he's kind of the hot dog. Like he's very skilled in the O-zone, but then doesn't really want to get back. So not saying he's as talented this player. I believe Jonathan Drouin is way more talented than him.
Yeah.
But he has that Drouin aspect.
Yes.
That I'm alluding to. So, that's what I got. The interview, pretty poor. Kind of caught me as a slow dude. And he's got to improve on the English.
It kind of fits, man. Like it fits. Yeah, I get it.
It was a jokes interview, so that's all I got for him.
What's your 20?
20 for me is I like this one. My comparison is Mr. Ryan Ellis, Andrew Bell.
I know who it is, yeah.
Lucas
Cormier.
Cormier.
Hey, I love this guy.
And I mean,
this guy is rough.
The reason I kind of coupled him with Poirier is not only do they sound similar, but they're extremely different. So this guy he's smaller and stockier, but he's a lot more defensively aware than the guy who sounds like him, Poirier. Right. He's a lot smarter, a great offensive instinct. He when he's got the puck, he takes a look. He's good at taking a look, selling where he's gonna put it. Just very calm presence. Doesn't seem like he's stressed with the puck. Seems like he knows what he's doing. High hockey sense. Speaks to our good pal Andrew Bell.
Very much so.
Just the interview seemed like a good kid, good humble kid. And like I said, I think if I'm looking at his ceiling, I like a Ryan Ellis. I really do like that comparison.
I had him at 24. The only thing I'll add is Sam Girard. That's what I see.
You think he's got that offensive upside? You think he's got that skating ability? I don't think he skates like Girard.
I like his skating.
I don't think he's Girard.
No,
Girard's flashy.
No,
man.
Maybe he's not Girard, but I really like his lateral skating. I do.
Girard's a much sexier player.
Yeah, maybe he is.
Gerard in those patented 360s.
Yeah,
come on.
I know, but the small French Canadian.
It's a little too optimistic for me.
That's
why I went with the Ellis.
Hey, Ellis is very optimistic. That's
Gerard's like sexy. But Gerard's a sexy player to watch.
He's a sexy player to watch, but Ellis is crazy good. Period. Girard isn't there yet.
Yeah.
So hey, if you're getting Ellis at fucking 20, you're killing yourself laughing.
Yep. Speaks to this draft class.
What are we, 21?
Mm-hmm.
I have Jan Mysak at 21.
Okay. 21, I will go to his counterpart, the Cormier. If you got a Cormier, you got a Poirier.
Oh, 21.
And that's where I got him. And the reason I have him there, and you seem surprised I maybe have him high, is because I believe of the two offensive and defense is the most teachable. The offense is something you're born with. It's something that you cultivate earlier in your career. It's something not a lot of guys have. But of course, what makes this guy such an interesting prospect is because he is just god awful defensively. So much so that to me, I almost compared him to that kid you grow up with, who he wants the extra ice time, so he's a forward, but he decides to play D so he can get the extra ice time.
I know the
even
guy.
Though he has no business doing that, and then he's a liability and screws your team.
Yeah,
that's exactly what this guy comes off with. This guy should be a forward. I have no idea what he's doing playing defense.
I had the same thing
watching
written down.
These highlights.
That's so crazy.
Great skills, good skating hands. He's got a long stick, which allows him to make the use of those hands. He can stop and go, change the pace of his skating. He can Johnny Cash walk the line. He can facilitate a one-man breakout, which not a lot of guys can do. But awful defensively.
Awful.
Not a high hockey IQ.
So bad.
A terrible backward skating.
Oh.
He's like me, where he will do the thing where he skates forward, back, to get up on the guy coming, and then spin around.
What is he doing?
Build up.
What is he doing?
It's very house league looking. It's not good. Doesn't pass the eye test. Plays very nonchalant. He'll make a shitty pass off the boards and turn it over. To me, my comparison is Jake Gardner. So he's got that high offensive upside. Can do the one man breakout. But he's a punching bag defensively. Whatever market he goes to, he's just going to be beat up.
Yeah.
Just like Gardner was in Carolina and Toronto.
That's so true, man.
So that's it for me.
This guy better have thick skin.
Yeah.
You're going to love my comparison. It's fitting.
Okay.
Ryan Merkley.
Oh, nice.
The character issues, the shit defensively, but the skill. Like, why is this guy not a forward? Yeah. It doesn't make it... If he was a forward, he might be a top 15 player in the draft. He's got top 3 best hands in the draft. We're talking the best guys in this draft, like Perfetti, Lafreniere, Stoitzel. He's got hands with those guys. It's crazy when you watch him. And it's, oh man, the defense is crap. I have him at 31. And I only did that because Ryan Merkley was there. So it was just flashing that. Switch him to forward, and he's top 20. That's what I've got written down here, and that's it. So what was that for you?
That was 21.
So my 22 is 21? Jan Mysak.
Okay. 22?
22 is William Wallander,
Mm-hmm.
Swedish defenseman. Just very solid overall. Don't have too much on him here. I needed to include another defenseman, and this draft is a little weak on these guys, so I wanted to push this guy up a little bit. Nothing crazy. I think he's going to be a fourth defenseman kind of guy. Decent in all categories. He's kind of like this Connor Zary of defensemen. So, yeah, 22, solid overall. 4 out of 5 kind of thing.
Not on my list, so cannot comment.
Fair.
22, I have Amirov.
Yep.
That kicks off my next tier. So just to wrap things up.
Okay, tiers, yes.
So I had the Holloway, Jarvis, Mercer, Sanderson, Zary. That was a tier.
Yeah.
And then my next tier was Mysak, Gooley, Gunler, Quinn, Lapierre, Cormier, Poirier. Okay. That was a tier.
Yeah.
And then this commences my next tier.
Gotcha.
So the top of this tier, I had Amirov at 22.
Yeah.
Who do you have at 22?
Wallander's 22.
Wallander. Okay, 23, I have Maverick Burke.
I have Zary.
Okay. 24. I don't know if you got to him. I honestly can't remember. Zion Nybeck?
No.
You don't have him?
Not ranked.
Okay. So he is an interesting guy. I wouldn't not have known him had the Athletic not done a piece on him, but it was great. This guy's 5'8".
Oh!
He's 5'8", 176.
You better skate like the wind.
So he's strong for his size. Incredibly smart player. Incredibly quick. Incredibly good passer. Can find seams. Can go coast to coast on a power play. Can change direction extremely fast. Great edge work. Has this ingenuity and flair. He battles for a little guy, something you really love to see for a guy his size. This is my next little paragraph here, which I'll get into. Nybeck is a divisive player and one I expect many discussions about in the coming years. He's put up huge numbers in the Swedish junior ranks and has a ton of skill. When you watch him with the puck, his ability to dangle clearly stands out. He also has excellent vision and is very dangerous off the perimeter. A lot of NHL scouts see a barely 5'7" forward without great speed and a so-so game off the puck and think his probability of making it is low. I think he's a good skater, but it's clearly more elusive than explosive in his stride. He's my type of player, so I could see him a third, fourth line player for a coach willing to play this style of player in that role. But I get that he won't be for everyone. I do think that he competes well, but it's not a selling point. I respect his track record, especially at the club level over the years, but he's going to be hard-pressed to become a scorer in the league without an extra step. So yeah, I don't know. I like something about little guys who compete hard, who can make up for that with their skill and their speed, and he was a fun little entertaining read, and I had to throw him in and give him some respect. So for me, I have no problem putting him in at 24.
Now it's completely amazing that you say that kind of player, this Zion Nybeck.
Yeah.
Because my player at, well, let's see. Yes, okay, good. Okay. So my player at 24 was Lucas Cormier, so I'll skip to 25, and my player at 25 is almost exactly reminiscent of what you just said, is JL Foudy, Jean-Luc Foudy. Now, he's not as small. He's about 5'11", but he's extremely light. So whatever way you cut it, he's a small player. He's like 165 or probably less. In terms of mobility and speed, he's literally top 2 in the draft. Like, this guy can absolutely fly. He's a unicorn in the draft in the fact that he can circle the zone and actually avoid checks almost to a detriment. Like, it's like he can hold on to the puck so long, it's almost like he's too patient, and then sometimes he misses plays that come up because he can just hold on to it. That being said, he's an excellent playmaker in the zone. He can toy with opponents with his speed, but extremely slight. Not a good goal scorer. And he needs more strength. Let's put it that way. And sometimes it's hard to picture him in the NHL. But if he does put on a little bit of pounds, keeps the skating fast, you're looking at, a very, think of a Kyler Yamamoto, maybe not that kind of high end, but close kind of thing.
Not ranked for me.
Fair.
25 as we round out our list.
Yeah.
Best name of the draft.
Can I guess? Ryan O'Rourke.
Ozzy Weinstein.
Ah, shit, I got that.
He's great. I like this guy. He's another Prince Albert Raider, Nick's number 1 team in the CHL. Physical, gritty, size, good package, can play make. He's got this toolbox that I really like. He fits the Nick mold. I don't really like his skating. It doesn't look good, doesn't really pass the eye test, but he still finds a way to get around. So it's not aesthetically the most pleasing, but it's manageable, and the rest of the play makes up for it. So that's what I got for him. Cliche interviewer, but that's to be expected from the best team in the CHL. You take a business-like approach. And Ozzy Weisbach.
I have him at the tip-top of my second round, so I don't have any. I like him,
you
though.
You did a second-round ranking?
No. I just
mean he's be here all night.
He's just outside of 31. I like him a lot, and he's very close. But the high end, whatever. So my 25 was Foodie, 26 was Gunler. Are we on 27?
26. So I had to put some defensemen in there, similar to how you had to with that Wallinder.
Yep.
Although I opted to stay in the CHL, and I went with Braden Schneider.
Yes.
This
good.
guy, he fits the Nick mold. Again, physical back-end defenseman, doesn't necessarily skate well, but extremely physical, can play gaps very well, can stand guys up at the blue line, can smack guys into the boards. He's probably the most physical defenseman of all the ones we've talked about here tonight.
Agreed.
And for that reason alone, I think he deserves to be at in the first round at the very end at least. And then I did listen to one interview of his, and this guy is a pro. Arguably the best interview of the whole.
Really?
Yep, great character. And I think it complements his physicality. If you're that strong-willed physical guy, you got to have a good character to back it up. He just comes off as a total pro, likable guy in the dressing room. I think you'd like him.
Okay.
So that alone raised him up for me. I originally had him 31, raised him up. He's at 26.
Fuck, I wish I could raise him up now. I have him at 28, so not too far behind. Echo everything you said. I'll throw in a name here. Yep. Nikita Zadorov. That's what he reminds me of.
Yeah, that's fair.
Kind of low offensive ceiling, but can really lay wood. And you could see him in the top 4 on most NHL teams. Okay. Not the top teams, perhaps, but most.
Yeah.
So what are we at here? It's 27?
6.
No Gunler is my 6. 27, I have Jakob Perreault.
Yep.
OHL player, NHL bloodlines, played on a shite team, 70 points. So statistically, nothing wrong. Great even strength numbers, just over a point per game even strength. That's very impressive. Bad defensively. Very, maybe he just grew up with a silver spoon in his hand, and he just didn't, care about defense. But, I mean, the guy's a great skater. He's the skills are there. But, when I watch him, it's like he can't put all the pieces together. He's got 3 bowls, and all are filled with great ingredients, but he can't mix it together. Right. In a vacuum, great shot, great skating, great this, great that, NHL bloodlines, but he can't put it together, and that's why I have him at 27. If he can figure it out, though, potential steal, I could see it. Nothing crazy, but good second liner I could see in his future. Yeah.
27, I got Anton Lundell.
Low.
28, fittingly, Jakob Perreault.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean,
I like how close we are
yeah.
on some of these.
Well, yeah, but some are off though.
Yeah.
Some are really close and some are off.
Yeah.
Which is to be expected.
For sure.
Jakob Perreault, I mean, to me, I like I like what our friend Draft Dynasty said. He used the term toolbox, right? He checks a lot of boxes. I like that. To me, he passes the eye test just looking at him. I just like his build.
Right.
He's tall, but he's not too lanky. He's got some size. He's got some strength. He just looks like a hockey player.
Right.
Just looking at the guy and yeah. The vision, the playmaking, it's all there for a guy that size. I commend him for that. And to get that complete toolbox player at the end of the first round, I think it's a solid pick. You're not gambling too much, so it's safe.
Yeah. I think he's a very solid late rounder for sure. Okay. 28?
Yeah.
28, I have Braden Schneider.
Okay.
You're 28.
I had Perreault.
29. Oh, fuck. Yeah, this one's tough. Like, okay. Boy, oh boy. What are we going to do here? 29 is Ridley Greig. Greig.
Wow. Never. Oh, yeah, I've heard of him, but yeah.
Yeah, just this guy, I honestly, to be honest with you, just chose because he had really decent numbers. And he's a good CHL player. I don't know too much about him. I know he plays in the WHL. Very young, so the guy's raw as they come. He's an August. He's like a Byfield. He's lots of room to grow. 5'11", 159 pounds. Little. He's almost like a 12-year-old. So if he can put up 60 points in 56 games that young and that light. I see a high growth room for him. That's why I fit him into my late round there.
Yeah. I again can't comment on him. He's not in my list here. Yeah. But regardless, we'll move on. For me, I'm gonna wrap this up quite fittingly, and I'm gonna go with 29 and 30 in a doubleheader here.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna go with JJ Peterka at number 30. This is the German guy from the Dell.
My God!
And I'm gonna go with Lucas Reichel at 30, who's also the German guy from the
Germans.
Dell.
Wow.
I had to give my love to the Germans.
Yeah, you're gonna live there.
I have a relationship with the Germans.
Yeah.
And I just had to give a shout out to them. I like these kids. I saw them in the World Juniors when they played against Canada. They also were good in their other games, particularly in their relegation games against Kazakhstan. They stepped up. Peterka seems to be the better skater. Draft Dynasty had him in his top 10 skaters of the draft class. He's a good-looking skater, I won't lie. He looks like a better hockey player, like the build is there. Whereas Reichel is very lanky, very skinny. You'll notice that right away if you see footage of him. But they have pace. These guys play with pace. And I just think the Germans get it. Like the way they're developing their players, like the things they're stressing, the speed in the hockey sense, it's kind of what I look up to. And I had to acknowledge the way they're cultivating these players and the way they're developing them. I had to give them a shout out. And I thought, what better way to do that than to insert these two guys to round out my my top 30.
Nice.
And you get awesome clips of this shit.
Oh!
Like in Germany, they just get it. This
is
good production value of just watching a guy puck handle.
Imagine we got like a Byfield doing this. We'd go nuts.
You don't get this. They're just that guy's just standing there watching him.
That's crazy.
It's wonderful.
With running shoes. A little bit of a screw up, but he keeps going.
Please, everybody's got to YouTube this. It's just Peterka and Reichel skill clips, and you.
Yeah, I love it.
It's just stuff you wish you could see in a practice. Which, look at that.
Some German, I love that.
So it's
great.
kooky and fun, and there we go. There's my top 30. Kyle, why don't you finish off here?
Wait, what about your 31?
I don't have a 31. I just turned 30. I'm living in the past.
This guy's crazy,
as if
bro.
the Golden Knights never existed.
Okay, I'll finish her off.
30 is a better number than 31.
It's a better number, but it's wrong.
No one was worthy enough to make Nick's 31.
Okay. So what I got here, so I had Ridley Grieg at 29. 30, Ryan O'Rourke, mature, all situations defender. Not a lot of flash in his game. OHL, probably the second best OHL defender to come out of the draft behind Drysdale. Nothing too fancy there. Top 4 probably, if he can get there. Number 31 is where I had Poirier. Is again because of the Merkley spot. So that's it. That's all she wrote.
Awesome. Well, with that said, we are now 12:17, our end of the pond. Latest we've gone on a podcast for sure.
And away.
I think we've recorded theme songs this late, but I don't think we've recorded a show this late.
And in terms of pure length,
3:20, we're 3:15ish, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a marathon, but it was to be expected. We had some bets before. I said we'd be 3 hours for sure. Kyle was on the low end of the spectrum, but you underestimated it.
Fucking, we could have gone longer.
We could have went longer, but I knew we were gonna go. The second we were still like at number 3 talking about like Rossi.
I know.
We spent it was just you knew we were going to go into a long rabbit hole here.
Start to worry.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But no, it was fun, and it was something we anticipated. Kyle had been anticipating it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He finally got to talk about these prospects. I was glad I got to throw my hat into the ring this year. So there you have it. Those are the official Rink Moose rankings of the 2020 NHL entry draft. And of course, things will continue. 2 weeks from now, we'll have the lottery. That'll of course determine, hopefully, who picks those top 3 spots. And we're going to do something very special for you guys. We're going to be broadcasting live during the lottery. We're going to have the live reactions. And is that right, Kyle?
Yes, it is.
He's zoning out right now as we speak. But yeah, so
we're going to do video live, too.
We'll see.
It's going to go on YouTube.
Okay. We'll get Dante to film. So yeah, we'll get the coverage. That'll be new. It'll be new for us. It'll be new for you guys. But it's something we've clearly been anticipating for so long. So we want to get the live coverage there, the live reaction. So we usually pride ourselves on being a bi-weekly podcast. We hope to get into that kind of routine with the lottery in 2 weeks, and then of course 2 weeks after that, predicting. By then, the season will be starting, so we'll get to do our predictions. So, expect to hear from us in a couple weeks. We hope you enjoyed, and hey, we're happy to be back amid this troubling time. But we hope we brought some levity and education to your lives this day. So for me and Kyle, thanks for listening, and we are signing off officially. So with that said, Rink Moose is signing off.